Test
Adam
1, 2,
Curry,
3, 4,
John C.
5,
Dvorak.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Test 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. Are you ready?
Yeah, I had a great opening, too.
All right, well, let's do it then.
Well, I don't have it anymore. I forgot it.
God.
I think of something that would be jazzy. I'll just ad-lib. I'll do it live. Hit it.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, August 23rd, 2020. This is your award-winning Gibbo Nation Media Assassination episode 1271.
This is No Agenda.
Duped again! And broadcasting live from Opportunity Zone 33 here in the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where we're all trying to catch our breath over the Joe Biden speech, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Yeah, can't wait to talk about good old Joe. But more importantly, how's the fire?
Well, there's no fire around here.
I know.
There's fires everywhere, apparently.
What's you don't have any local info, any updates? I mean, is it moving? Is it moving towards you? Is it moving away? Is it not important?
There's nothing moving toward me. I'm on the bay.
Has it consumed Scott Adams' home yet? I heard he was really worried.
Apparently not.
No. All right. Okay. Do you need a rain stick? Does somebody need a rain stick over there? I mean, it's...
No, because what happens with the rain stick, and I think this is the reason these all started, is because of your rain stick.
What?
It triggered it brought in rain, but it also brought in all those 2,500 lightning strikes.
What do you mean that's my light? I didn't do that with the rain stick. I did some stuff for Colorado.
Well, it goes over everywhere.
That's very
unprofessional. You don't know what the result is. It's dangerous to do it.
That's okay, but it's very unprofessional to blame a fellow rain sticker for something like that. Back it up, man. Facts.
Pump the brakes.
Yeah, pump the brakes, bro.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Hey, we're getting screwed here in Austin. Screwed. And it will not stand.
Screwed.
It's worth
screws?
3 screws in a row. Yeah, we're getting screwed.
Okay.
The promise was, okay, shutting the bars down again, restaurants still at half capacity, we'll do more curve flattening, and once we were on a 7-day average of below 44 hospital admissions per week, we could move...
Right, they had these rules. They were set in stone, so
Yes.
you can count on them.
Yeah, right.
We cannot let our guard down. We cannot make any changes from the behavior that we've had.
Austin Public Health has seen a downward trend in both new COVID-19 cases and hospital admissions.
The hospital admissions they're still going down, but they're certainly going down at a much slower rate than we saw in July.
Wednesday's 7-day moving average for hospital admissions is 29, well below Stage 4's risk-based guidelines of 40 or higher. Looking at the chart, the Austin-Travis County area should be in yellow, Stage 3, which would allow for non-essential travel and give the green light to shop and dine. The pandemic has drastically impacted businesses, shutting doors and making it difficult for small businesses to operate at limited capacity. Interim Health Authority Dr. Mark Escott says his office is working on moving away from hospital admissions as their key indicator for the stages of risk-based guidelines, and instead may look at the positivity rate and new cases as the new indicator to move thresholds.
We're still considering ourselves in Stage 4, and we want to keep it that way until we can get below 5% in terms of positivity across the board. And certainly we want to be more protective in our advice as we approach September 8th and the expected return of some students to school.
Oh, so really it's just until September 8th. This is really un-American. You know,
what's un-American about it?
Well, the American way is, all right, everybody, let's get this down. Less than 44, 7-day average. Come on, everybody, shape up. Let's do it. Okay, we're all in. We're going for the goal. We can do it. We're a team. We're America, number one. We do it. And then it's, well, we're going to change from hospitalizations to positive test rate. Are you kidding me? So it's the Austin City Council, man.
You're very disappointed, it seems, in your mayor.
I'm very disappointed. Not the mayor, the city council, and that shill you heard, the temporary health expert that they've hired, some consultant a-hole. It's all that. It's all the pharma guys, and they're all too afraid to say no. Are you clipping your pen? It's really loud.
It's funny you always say that. I click it when I'm listening to you sometimes, just out of habit, because I have the pen in my hand, because I was writing with it. And so I got the pen in my hand, I'm clicking. It is a mile away from the microphone.
Yeah.
But it's in the zone of the microphone.
What are you using? I have my Precise V7 RT from Pilot.
That's your microphone?
No, that's my pen. That's my pen.
Oh.
Yes, everybody, I'm using a brand new podcaster mic, which I'm crowdfunding. It's the Precise V7 RT. You're going to love it, from Pilot.
Well, it's a pen I got from the Commerce with the Z Bank, I think, in Brazil.
Oh.
So
When you were moving some cash down there. The Commerce Z Bank. Mr. Dvorak, here you go. So this is very disappointing, yes. It's also not, it's just not okay. So they will have to account. They shall repent for this one way or the other. But we're moving into this phase, which I am not even sure we're going to have schools open at all. The vaccine phase is coming hard and heavy now. Hard and heavy. And by the way, the vaccine might not even arrive. Who knows?
And we already know it doesn't work.
Well, we have Trump now gaslighting the industry by tweeting, the deep state, or whoever, over at the FDA is making it very difficult for drug companies to get people in order to test the vaccines and therapeutics. Obviously, they're hoping to delay the answer until after November 3rd. This is very interesting. So they are having
What's
trouble.
What's he talking about? Hard to get people. All you have to do is keep upping the ante. You want $100? You want $200? You want $300? You want $400? They got tons of money.
This is a good question. Why exactly does he say that? And I have a feeling that they have a very strong push. Actually, it was Kamala Harris who kind of brought that back to my attention. Hold on a second. Here, this is what Kamala said.
And while this virus touches us all, we got to be honest. It is not an equal opportunity offender. Black, Latino, and indigenous people are suffering and dying disproportionately. And this is not a coincidence. It is the effect of structural racism.
Of course, the virus is racist. But what's happening is they are trying to find two groups, Native Americans and African Americans, or what they call the black community, what we would say ADOS, to be the first in line to take the vaccine. And this is apparently because, surprise, surprise, African Americans have different responses to vaccines. We know they have, according to what they're saying, a much higher case rate, and oh my goodness, it's racist, where the virus is racist, or our healthcare system is racist, all racism. So they're trying to get Black Americans and Native Americans to be in the first trial. They're not so enthusiastic. I had a chat with Mo yesterday. It's like, are you kidding? Do you know? We remember Tuskegee Airmen. We remember all the times that black people in America have been experimented on, and really are not, very conspiratorial in that regard. It's rampant amongst the black community. And then he said something else that really kind of blew me away. He said, they're going so hard for the vaccines. What are the two things that we're having trouble reopening that just remain shut? One is schools, which is great for black and brown parents because they're poor. And, they're only going to open up if your kid has the vaccine. You already have to have all kinds of vaccines for your kid to go to school anyway. So they will pressure the lower class, which is going to be black and brown. They're going to pressure them into taking the vaccine. They have to. And also, where do poor, certainly poor, but not all poor, but where do a lot of black and brown people assemble, and where do they talk about conspiracy theories and vaccines and taking it or not? Where is the one place that is truly conspiracy central? Church. So you got to wonder why churches aren't allowed to open. And I thought it was pretty eye-opening to think about it that way. They want it so bad, and we have to stop all this conspiracy theory thinking about it, and let's bring Dr. Bill out to start telling us what we really need to do, how much we suck, and, let's start off with the conspiracy theories.
How much damage has been done by the kind of conspiracy theories that have grown up, particularly on social media, even frankly about you personally? You caused the pandemic. I mean, it's very ad hominem now. Is that sort of, something you could brush aside? Do you think there's real damage done by that kind of conspiracy theory?
It's hard for me because I'm so, science oriented to even, go, oh, come on, not really. People don't really believe that. Those things are completely untrue.
They do.
And to the degree.
Isn't it interesting that she didn't give any examples? She just said conspiracy theories, and he's immediately, those things are untrue. What is he talking about? The Epstein conspiracy theories, or is he talking about vaccine conspiracy theories? He never really
landing.
He never really says what it is, but they're untrue.
Theory.
It's hard for
he says without evidence.
Me, because I'm so, science oriented.
Science!
To even, go, oh, come on. Not really. People don't really believe that.
I love it. He's so science oriented, he can't even say, come on, people don't believe that. That's how much science is a part of his being.
Well, how is he science-oriented? He dropped out of college. He's never worked in science, and he gives money away for a living.
Science!
I mean, specifically, how is he what kind of a scientist is he?
I think it's a sexual preference. I don't know. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what he's saying.
Those things are completely untrue, and to the degree they cause people not to wear masks or seek out the vaccine, or to think this is all some big conspiracy, that's unfortunate.
Who's seeking out the vaccine?
What?
What is he talking about? He says wearing masks and seeking out the vaccine. Is anyone out there seeking out the vaccine?
I know this is a great
what vaccine.
Bill is just rambling here.
Vaccine.
Oh, hold on. Let's go back a little.
And to the degree they cause people not to wear masks or seek out the vaccine.
Seek out the vaccine. Yeah, see, this is really his problem, is that people are not seeking out the vaccine.
Or to think this is all some big conspiracy, that's unfortunate. And, countries where the leaders have been more clear, have had more compliance on the masks and social distancing. So that's been a benefit to them. I think it'll die down. I mean, a pandemic is a time when it's not totally surprising that people's concern and reaching for oversimplistic explanations gets a little bit higher. And weirdly, it's come at the time of an election in the U.S. that's fairly polarized. So a lot of things. There seems to be some confluence between social media, election, and pandemic that
you think
have this at a level that. I certainly never expected to be mentioned in any of those things because, we were pretty obscure doing our work on infectious disease, which is mostly important.
We didn't make a big deal of it. We didn't have entire TV specials.
Sticking my nose, and I didn't have my publicist keep putting me on TV. Low profile.
Very low.
I certainly never expected to be mentioned in any of those things because, we were pretty obscure doing our work on infectious disease, which is mostly in poor countries. And this has gotten infectious diseases and, crazy ideas about them into the rich countries in a way that you never would have predicted. The values of the foundation are about saving lives. We have a great track record of achieving that.
great track record of saving lives, except in a couple of African countries. You might want to like strike those from the record.
So I'm not somebody who, can complain because I've had, this amazing life and get to do this amazing work.
It's amazing work. Yes, amazing because it's magical. From the same interview, he will explain here what went wrong, how we did it wrong, how much we screwed it all up.
Now let's turn to the US, because it's the country, it's the world's biggest economy, it's the preeminent public health country in the world, it's got the world's best epidemiologists. Why is it done so badly?
Well, we believe in freedom, individual freedom. We optimize for individual rights.
Okay, I'm going to stop. John is gone. So we will pick that back up. Wonder how that happens. So many issues. He's clicking in his pen and it went off. Well, fire?
I don't know.
So it just disconnects?
Yeah, just disconnected.
All right. I'll pick it up with the clip that I played. I was just about to play as you dropped off.
Now let's turn to the US, because it's the country, it's the world's biggest economy, it's the preeminent public health country in the world, it's got the world's best epidemiologists.
What?
Why is it done so badly?
Well, we believe in freedom, individual freedom.
This is, I love this so much. The problem with America, the problem, why it's all screwed up is because we believe in freedom. Listen to what he's saying.
Epidemiologists, why is it done so badly?
Well, we believe in freedom, individual freedom. We optimize for individual rights. There's some bad luck in this, that the CDC's initial test was slow, complicated, didn't work. They didn't let the commercial labs come in. We messed up getting that commercial lab capacity going. We never created a CDC website.
Oh, that explains it.
That would prioritize who was tested.
We should have had one of those Obama $2 billion websites. That would have solved it.
Tested.
Oh, yeah.
So that both we didn't overload the system to avoid taking more than 24 hours to give you results, and we were making sure low-income communities and people who really needed the tests were getting them, as opposed to wealthy people who like to be tested on a regular basis, or force their delivery people or people who work in their house to be tested every week.
So it's not just we love freedom, but it's the rich people.
Wait, hold on a second. What wealthy people do you know? I know a few that like to be tested on a regular basis.
I know one who does it multiple times a week, and it's Joe Rogan. He's tested, his family's tested, every guest is tested. Multiple times. Yeah.
I mean, Joe Biden hasn't even been tested once.
Well, it's another story.
So we've had a very uncoordinated testing thing. Even though we have way more PCR machines than any country, we performed at this point, although that was slow to get going, we performed a lot of tests. But the delayed results and the fact that people's behavior, even if they test positive, doesn't change their behavior as much as other countries to take them out of the infection pool. That's where, unfortunately, we had a continued high level of infection through the summer.
Okay.
Give this guy the hook, for God's sake.
Well, he does have a message, and the message is, so we have the vaccine message, and then the next one that's coming, they got to set it up because that's all a part of Build Back Better.
One last question, which is, what lessons do you think handling this crisis have taught you for the next one, and not the next pandemic, but something that you think have said publicly is an even greater challenge, which is that of climate change?
Yeah, climate change is like this pandemic in that you trust your government to see things that lie ahead that will be super problematic, like a natural disaster or a war, and
super problematic. It's
super duper problematic.
Take the steps to avoid this awful outcome. And in the case of pandemic, there were voices saying to do that, but and the cost was kind of actually quite modest to do it right. That wasn't done. I'm hopeful that reminds people that, yes, you have to prepare in advance. Climate change isn't uncertain. It's definitely coming. How quickly it comes, there's still some uncertainty about that.
You see how quickly he makes that shift. It's like pandemic, vaccines,
prepare in advance,
and then
climate change isn't uncertain. It's definitely coming. How quickly it comes, there's still some uncertainty about that. But the fact that it's very bad, and over time it gets worse,
very
and you
bad.
have to stop the emissions fairly quickly to not get to extreme levels. We need to make those investments, and we can couple that with some of the pandemic.
Bring me your money now for climate change. We can couple that with some of the pandemic initiatives. I only need $4 billion.
Recovery activity. Again, it's about innovation. In this negative picture, one thing I'll say is, innovation continues, whether it's on, global health tools or likewise on climate.
Global health pools? What is he talking about?
Reason I think
he's just throwing stuff out there because the guy's turning into I don't know what to say.
Stooge. Well,
this is like a money grab of some sort.
Oh.
And he also loves to use, he made bank on the word innovation over at Microsoft while they were stealing code from everybody else.
That's one way to innovate. The World Health Organization, Dr. Professor Tedros, MD, is also very, very concerned about the future. Hey, people, the vaccine is not just going to do it, okay? You're really going to have to change your behavior.
Several countries around the world are now experiencing fresh outbreaks after a long period with little or no transmission. These countries are a cautionary tale for those that are now seeing a downward trend in cases.
There's no outbreaks anywhere. There's increased cases, but there's no outbreaks. Hospitals are not filling up in any country that I know of.
Progress does not mean victory. The fact remains that most people remain susceptible to this virus. That's why it's vital that countries are able to quickly identify and prevent clusters to prevent community transmission and the possibility of new restrictions. No country can just ride this out until we have a vaccine. A vaccine will be a vital tool, and we hope that we will have one as soon as possible. But there is no guarantee that we will. And even if we do have a vaccine, it won't end the pandemic on its own. We must all learn to control and manage this virus using the tools we have now.
The ones like shut up, slave, put on the muzzle, stay home.
And to make the adjustments to our daily lives that are needed to keep ourselves and each other safe. We cannot go back to the way things were. Throughout history, outbreaks and pandemics have changed economies and societies. This one will be no different. In particular, the pandemic has given new impetus to the need to accelerate efforts to respond to climate change.
There it is.
The pandemic has given us a glimpse of our world as it could be. Cleaner skies and rivers.
Here it comes, exactly what we expected. Hey, wasn't that great sitting at home for 18 years? Look how blue the sky is. Look at the water. The trout are jumping. Now, you're going to need to do more of this with our lockdown weekends. It's all coming. It's connecting it to climate change. Bag of dicks, all of them. It's really not okay. Really not okay. And where it's super not okay is Australia. They've gone full crazy on the surveillance of people's behavior in this horrible pandemic.
Welcome back. New video surveillance technology will be rolled out next month to help Australian businesses maintain social distancing in the workplace, powered by artificial intelligence. The system includes contact tracing and COVID-19 mask detection capabilities without the need for a phone app.
Oh my God. John, this is the innovation Bill Gates was talking about. You can have social distancing surveillance without a phone app. Well, how would they do this? I can't wait for this innovation.
For a phone app.
As more Australians head back to the office and factories, a new tool will be activated on June 1st to make enforcing pandemic distancing rules easier. Developed by Motorola Solutions, this smart surveillance system will watch where people walk and where foot traffic is causing close contact. It will record it and report it for action.
Report it for action.
Intelligence is doing all the heavy lifting, so real people don't have to watch hours of video. For example, if wearing a mask is a company policy, you will be flagged by the system when you're not wearing one.
We take our role as practitioners of responsible AI very seriously and pay particular attention to designing products that empower decision makers and also design for privacy.
Empower decision makers, and it's designed for privacy.
Surveillance tech can already easily track people in a crowd. Here's the system following a subject in yellow. It works the same way in COVID-19 tracing. Too close for too long, the system follows the trail like a detective. If successful, it could be a game changer in the battle to stop the spread of COVID-19 in the community.
A game changer that a body recognition system sees if two bodies are too close together in the workplace, flags you for immediate action. What's going to have, like, things drop out of the ceiling and beat you on the head, or a big net?
I like the idea of the big net.
Yeah. We're sorry, citizen. You violated the terms of our agreement here in the office. So it's just all over the place. Internationally, we have riots now in the Netherlands against the, they're still trying to pass that law where they put the social distancing, the 1.5 meter society, codified into permanent law, so they could always use that against you. And man, the Netherlands has changed a lot since I really lived there. But I saw cops beating old women with their billy clubs, beating them to the ground. Old women with purses going, "Hey, this is," boom, smacking them. That is, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that in the Netherlands. Certainly not from the cops. So, yeah, and it's disturbing to watch. And just, the old women, couple of women who are just talking to the cop, and the cop says, "Move it," and they don't move immediately. Boom, boom, hitting him with a stick. And mean, too. Ugh. In Spain, we have a boots-on-the-ground report from Renee. Here in Spain, we seem to be being brainwashed into believing we'll need a second lockdown in September. Yes, the rumor is September 18th will be a new EU lockdown, and it would be starting in Spain. That's when they expect the twindemic to hit with the seasonal flu. Some regional governments have started banning smoking outside when the security distance can't be maintained because of supposed larger droplet sizes in the cigarette smoke. Oh, brother. Brothels, brothels, gotta close, hotspots of infection. Also, a video interview with a doctor who works in a hospital in El Escorial. That's right, this is the guy. He refutes the panic of the journalist who's in a tizzy about the rising number of cases in the region. This guy's getting kind of famous. He says, "We can't take it at face value because the PCR test just says someone's positive with the virus, doesn't say whether they're actually sick or need to be admitted." Yeah, well, dream on with getting that message through. He also disputes the idea of mandatory vaccine. The other day, there was also an anti-mask protest. Oh, it's only here, right? It's only in America, nowhere else. It's now mandatory in Amsterdam and Rotterdam as well. Mandatory, and people are protesting against it. So mask in the protest in the center of Madrid, but they are obviously being painted as crazy COVID deniers. And he will keep us updated on what else happens.
Apparently, they've gone nuts on the Canary Islands.
The Canary Islands. What do you know?
They're the same thing. They got mask protests.
Oh, but they're going angry nuts.
Oh, they're throwing rocks nuts.
Agriculture Minister Klockner in Germany announced this week she had taken expert advice and was introducing a law to ensure dogs go for a walk or run in the garden at least twice a day for a total of an hour, and they will be checking you. And of course, this has got even the dog people are like, well, hold on a second. I got this kind of dog. He doesn't need to walk for an hour twice a day. But no, it is now compulsory walkies for dog owners.
Where's this?
Germany.
People too.
Deutschland.
Well, I do have one Germany clip because I do think at least there's one thing interesting in Germany.
Okay.
Which is the German experiment. Somebody's finally decided to experiment with all these edicts and see if what works, what doesn't work, and whether it needs to be done in the first place. Play this clip.
Now, as Germany tries to tackle that new surge in cases, scientists there are taking an innovative approach to studying the coronavirus, staging 3 pop concerts in Leipzig this Saturday involving 1,500 volunteers in a bit to better understand how the virus spreads at large events. More with James Facina.
Large crowds lining up to get past the security gate. It almost looks like a regular gig outside the Leipzig arena, hoping to get a better understanding of how COVID-19 spreads in large indoor gatherings. Volunteers split into 3 trial groups attended separate concerts of German pop singer Tim Bensko. Equipped with face masks and tracking devices, the first group acted as though there were no distancing measures in place, while the second kept some distance, and attendees in the third remained 1.5 meters apart, a chance for many to finally watch a live performance.
So what they're doing is they're taking 3 groups and doing 3 separate, making them watch the concert 3 different ways.
Right.
And in other words, nobody cares way, just all jumbled together, a couple feet apart, 3 feet apart in different situations. And I don't know how important this is, but it seems to me that after all these assertions and complaining and what we should do and what we shouldn't do has all been based on theory, not science, because science requires experimentation.
Mm-hmm.
And science is not just saying something is true and then it is suddenly true. There's no science involved with this social distancing at all. Nobody's, so, well, we've sneezed and a particle went so far.
It's all based on cases of airplane spread. It's like, okay, someone had it here, and this goes way back. This is how they pulled up these really old studies.
Right, and this is hardly the same as being in public in the open air. The other thing is, which I wish you could find this clip.
I might.
But I still, every time we play clips about mask wearing, I keep remembering that Fauci clip that early on, it's stupid to wear masks. It doesn't do any good. You're just making it worse to wear a mask. It's unhealthy.
Here it is.
There's a whole bunch.
Yeah, we go back to, I believe this was March 6th.
Right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks.
You're sure of it? Because people are listening really closely to this.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is. And often, there are unintended consequences. People keep fiddling with the mask and they keep touching their face.
And can you get some schmutz sort of staying inside there?
Of course. But when you think masks, you should think of healthcare providers needing them and people who are ill.
That was not a situational analysis. That was an actual analysis, I think, of truth and facts that he gave there.
Yeah. So what happened to that?
Well, we need to have everybody comply. You need to be compliant. It's getting you ready for the vaccine. And although I think a lot of people will say, no thanks, I'm not going to take it, as we know, people will be lined up around the block to get it, mainly just to work or just to have their kids go to school. That's how evil this is. Anna is...
well, I will stop again and say the same thing I said before, because I'm not in total agreement with that. I think people will line up to get it the way they did swine flu and H1N1. They will just line up because they're afraid. They're afraid. They think this vaccine is going to save them. I don't think everyone's as cynical as we are.
No, many are. I cannot find a millennial who's going to go for it. And these are millennials who are, super Trump haters, hold their nose, vote for Joe, capitalism needs to die, wear a mask.
No,
I wear a mask to protect you.
I will agree with this one thesis. I agree with that. I have not found a millennial who will admit to it.
Ooh, I've only found millennials who are saying, yeah, I'm not going to, maybe late. Actually, you had a question about vaccines on the last show, and the question was related to doctors and healthcare workers. Do they fake getting vaccines for the flu? And I have 3 responses that I'd like to share in 3 different scenarios, although it'll become very evident what's going on. The shill from Chapel Hill says, in the morning, I want to chime in on the I sign your form, you sign my form discussion. I work for UNC Chapel Hill. The university was first to open and then first to close. I am an accountant at the UNC Dental School. I don't come in contact with patients. In fact, I work in a completely separate building. However, I'm still required to get a flu shot every year. Luckily for me, we self-report our vaccines. We have to fill out a form listing the date and location where we received the vaccine. If requested, we are supposed to be able to provide documentation. It's a risk, but one of my colleagues and I have been filling out the form without receiving the vaccine by picking a date and listing an off-campus pharmacy. Thank you for your courage. Shill from Chapel Hill. Then we have an anonymous healthcare worker. When I was first hired to work at a hospital some years ago, I was told having a flu vaccine was a condition for employment. I worked at a national pharmacy chain and got one. I'd never had the flu before in adulthood, and of course that year I got so bad I had to take a week off from work because I was so sick, and I still have pain in my left arm where I got the injection. The employee health department at the hospital I was working at did not care about my reaction to the first shot and said my only option would be to wear a mask at all times in the building, and I would be written up if I was ever caught not wearing it. I spoke with my former coworker at the pharmacy chain about my problem. He offered to fake the shot for me. So I went in, paid for my shot, went into the shot room, and instead of jabbing me, he threw the shot in the trash. We now do this every year. I'm good friends with this pharmacist outside of work. I don't think he would be willing to do it to potentially risk his license for someone he didn't trust otherwise. But here's the one that I think is probably the most often used, and unless they go for a digital certification of vaccination, this would certainly, I think, work in the interim. I work for a biomedical company, and I work inside operating rooms at many hospitals. They require a flu shot. I go to Walgreens or CVS in another town where I don't live and pay for the vaccine. They give me a receipt and proof I got the vaccine. Then they tell me to go wait over there and wait in line. When they go in the back to get the vaccine, I leave with my proof of vaccine in hand. I think that's the way to go. You buy it?
That last one, I would give the last one is genius.
That's the way to go. They're all kind of doing a variation, but this one where you pay for it, you get your receipt, and like, okay, and you go wait over there, and you could always say, where's the bathroom? And just slip out the back, Jack, you got your receipt. That is all the proof that currently seems to be required by most in general. Having a lot number sticker like the Netherlands, man, they've got brand new vaccine passports. I was sent a picture. They're like a regular passport. Like, with the sturdy outside cover, and every place there's a spot to put the sticker from your actual vial that you receive.
It's like going to a trade show and getting all these little stickers so you can get a little prize at the end.
It's like a frequent flyer thing. Hey, it's like Starbucks.
Yeah, or a free loaf of bread. They click it.
That's pretty much the equivalent. Anna is pregnant. She's one of our producers. She's expecting to deliver in September. Of course, September 3rd. It'll be a great day for your child. But last night, my husband and I took a virtual newborn class through our hospital in Austin. Oh, this is in Austin. The first 30 minutes was spent on COVID protocols that I wanted to share. Upon arrival at the hospital to give birth, pregnant woman receives a rapid swab test. Pregnant woman is allowed one visitor during labor. Side note, our friend who gave birth had to choose between having her husband in the room or her doula. In case you were curious, she chose her husband. I wasn't familiar with doula.
It's like a midwife.
Except it's It's different from a midwife.
No, it's like a midwife, but not a midwife.
It's more an emotional support midwife, the way I see it. Like
life coach.
I like emotional support midwife. The visitor does not receive the rapid test, but they do get their temperature checked. If pregnant woman is COVID positive, they will not turn her away. She will still be able to give birth in the hospital. How generous. If COVID positive, once she gives birth, baby will be socially distanced from mom in the same room, but at least 6 feet. This is so fucking cruel. If COVID positive, mom chooses to breastfeed.
How are you going to nurse the baby?
Here it comes. If COVID positive, mom chooses to breastfeed, she will pump and the nurse will feed the baby from the bottle. This is Middle Ages, man. If mom's negative, mom can breastfeed and is not required to wear a mask while holding the baby.
What medieval town do they live in?
Austin, Texas. I'm telling you, this is not Joe Rogan. Stay. It might be better in California. I'm not sure. Think twice, my friend. Jeez. It's really, really, really nuts. By the way, back to that church thing, 2,700 evangelicals have now warned against politicizing coronavirus and urged Christians to take the vaccine. And this was an initiative from by a logo.
Is this the same signatures of those same 2,700 lawyers and 2,700 health professionals and 2,700 anti-Trumpers?
No. Yeah. This is a little better than that. This is the 2,700 faithful that a certain Francis Collins has been able to assemble. Remember, Anthony Fauci's boss, Francis Collins, he is on this Pope's special lifetime advisory board, and they've all been trying to. And he wrote the book. He wrote the book on telling Christians, maybe Catholics specifically, that science has a place in religion, and they go together. One doesn't cancel the other out. This has been his mission, and now through his Biologos, that's actually the publication that he received that $1.3 million award from some stupid foundation. They're just. Who knows if these are like the Chinese evangelicals, the ones that are above ground. It certainly doesn't feel like the real ones who are living underground. We have them here too. So yeah, it's a mailing list, but it's a new one, and it's controlled by the guy who's really in charge of the vaccines. Then a story that's been going around for a couple weeks about teachers being very worried in the upcoming school season that parents will be listening in and eavesdropping on the lessons, and they're very worried, and they have huge concerns about doing these video lessons because parents could be eavesdropping and it's inappropriate. And well, of course, hold on a second. Heaven forbid a parent of a 10-year-old is listening and monitoring a teacher's propagandizing their own kid. Well, that's terrible to think that could be happening. And this is exactly the way Fox News positioned this news.
A school district in Tennessee is taking heat for asking parents to sign a form agreeing not to eavesdrop on their kids' virtual classes over concerns they could overhear confidential information.
But after pushback from parents, Rutherford County School
But they're doing patent analysis? What are they doing? Confidential?
I don't know.
Patent? Are they discussing the new Intel chips? What's confidential here?
I don't know. It's probably the podcasting 2.0 plan. We can't let anyone know.
Hear confidential information.
But after pushback from parents, Rutherford County School District is allowing them to tune in with permission from the teacher. But parents are not allowed to record the classes.
Here to react is founder of Proclaiming Justice to the Nations and mother of 5, Lori Cordoza. Help us out. Why would a school, and I think I might know the answer, why would they not want parents to see what teachers are teaching their kids?
Well,
Well, obviously, because they are teaching our children propaganda that they should not be teaching. They are trying to socialize our children. We have had a major problem. Excuse me. We've had a major problem in education, not just here in Tennessee, but across the country, where they are indoctrinating our children with propaganda. And not only that, they're telling parents in this agreement that they had to sign that if they violate, or if they know that somebody else is violating and tuning in, they're to tell on that parent. And if they violate this after they sign the agreement, if they violate it, then they can remove the child from the virtual learning classroom. What does that mean? Does that mean somebody from the school district is going to knock on my door and pull my kid out of my home, his virtual classroom? Or is it going to be my tax dollars that fund my child's public education? My child won't get to participate in education because of it. What are they trying to hide?
Well, obviously, that is the Fox News take on it, but I can't argue that could be very possible. What is your problem? Or are they so crappy with their instruction that they're afraid of, seeing how lame it is?
There is crappiness involved, but I think it mostly has to do with the fact. One of my kids, when they were younger, they came back to, I think they were in the second grade or something, bitching and moaning about Christopher Columbus being a horrible rapist. And just stuff like that. But here's what's really going to happen, though, which is kind of negating this whole fear, which is Amy Goodman's report. This is the teachers are going to be designated as essential workers, and here's the result. Teachers clip.
Okay, hold on.
Meanwhile, the White House says it'll designate teachers as essential workers exempt from quarantine requirements if they're exposed to COVID-19. This is the White House press secretary speaking on Fox News.
We believe teachers are essential workers. The media never stopped working during this pandemic. Our meat packers didn't stop working during this pandemic. Our law enforcement didn't stop working during this pandemic, nor should our teachers, because America's children must come first.
In July, the American Federation of Teachers said its 1.7 million members stood ready to strike if necessary to protect teachers, school staffers, and children from unsafe workplaces.
Strike, yeah. Exactly.
So this little battle's going to go on. I do have one COVID clip.
Sure.
If you want to wrap the segment.
I'm going to transition you right into something cool, but I want to hear what your.
This is. I just wanted to play. This is so we know, because you listen to Trump come out. Well, things are looking good. Numbers are going down like they are in Austin, even though they're not doing anything about it. But if you listen to Amy Goodman and the leftists talk about it, it's worse than ever, and this is a good example of the report.
The U.S. once again recorded more than 1,000 daily coronavirus deaths Thursday. The United States still leads the world in both deaths, officially more than 174,000, and confirmed cases, with more than 5.5 million. But public health officials say the true toll is far higher. On Thursday, CDC Director Robert Redfield estimated as much as 18% of the U.S. population has already been infected with the coronavirus.
I think if you're going to do a crude estimate, somewhere between 30 and 60 million people, but let's let the data come out and see what it shows.
Oh, please, with data.
No, hold on. You missed the whipsaw there. She introduced this clip as this guy says there's 18% more than reported. There's more than this and that. And they throw to the clip, and the guy says, let's let the data come out.
Let's hear it again.
The U.S. once again recorded more than 1,000 daily coronavirus deaths Thursday. The United States still leads the world in both deaths, officially more than 174,000, and confirmed cases, with more than 5.5 million. But public health officials say the true toll is far higher. On Thursday, CDC Director Robert Redfield estimated as much as 18% of the U.S. population has already been infected with the coronavirus.
I think if you're going to do a crude estimate, somewhere between 30 and 60 million people, but let's let the data come out and see what it shows.
So she got the 18% from the 60? Is that what she did? She just said, okay, that's
and then he says, let's let the data show. I mean, she's already saying that this and that happened, and then they throw to a clip that denies it. I mean, this is going on in all segments of the media. I mean, Democracy Now! they don't do quite the professional job that ABC does, but it blew past you.
It did. Well, what was interesting is I heard what he said, and I'm like, well, that's nothing. And because I am trained to filter out that bull crap from her. So I didn't really even realize this 18%. I heard, the data, whatever.
She's pulling a fast one.
She is. There's something we haven't talked about in many months, but now is a real problem. I think the coronavirus will definitely help one of our predictions come true. That Brexit is truly never going to happen.
There was a time, not long ago.
I was wondering when we're going to come back around to that, because I was going to bring that up on the last show.
Yeah, I got a clip about it. It's pretty funny.
There was a time, not long ago, when we heard a lot about
Brexit.
After a bit of back and forth, the UK officially left the European Union on January the 31st. Since then, Britain and the EU have been focused on making arrangements for their future relationship. Or at least they had been until
the coronavirus outbreak.
Coronavirus continues to spread.
With a transition period in place, things haven't changed much yet. But time is fast ticking towards an end-of-year deadline to strike a trade deal before the UK leaves the EU. Negotiations haven't been going particularly well, if at all.
I've taken a test that has come out positive.
The EU chief negotiator, Michel Barnier, and British Prime Minister Boris Johnson both had cases of COVID-19. And any talks that haven't been cancelled have been all the more difficult without face-to-face contact. With key issues including access to the single market, fishing rights and the UK-Ireland border unresolved, there's a long way to go if a deal is to be struck in time. Against the backdrop of a global pandemic, Brexit is back.
You mean the media? That was CNN UK. They're all jacked. Brexit, we can talk about that again. Woohoo! Love it, love it, love it. But they don't have to worry about Brexit or any kind of deals because the New World Order is here and they're in our face and they're just out there saying it and no one gives a crap. No one's paying attention. The slogan for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is Build Back Better. This has been used in Turkey. This has been used in Peru. This is being used right now in Scandinavia. Hello, Justin Trudeau.
We are taking a moment to recognize that the throne speech we delivered 8 months ago had no mention of COVID-19, had no conception of the reality we find ourselves in right now. We need to reset the approach of this government for a recovery, to build back better. And those are big, important decisions, and we need to present that to Parliament and gain the confidence of Parliament to move forward on this ambitious plan.
We know this is a United Nations. Also, the European Investment Bank is promoting Build Back Better. And Boris Johnson, Mr. Brexit, Mr. kind of the British Trump. Oh, yeah.
So I want you to know that this government not only has a vision to change this country for the better, we have a mission to unite and to level up. And it's the mission on which we were elected last year, and we have a plan. And in advancing that plan now, I just serve notice that we will not be responding to this crisis with what people call austerity. We're not going to cheese-pear our way out of trouble, because the world has moved on since 2008. And we not only face a new and in some ways a far bigger challenge, but this moment also gives us a much greater chance to be radical and to do things differently, to build back better and to build back bolder. And so we will be doubling down on our strategy. We will double down on leveling up, if you can make sense of that.
So with a media that is obsessed with gotchas and catches and, oh my gosh, well, I'm sure we'll talk about Biden's duplication of his speech. Why is the New York Times not questioning Build Back Better? This is odd. I mean, it's everywhere. It's all these New World Order global governments who are talking about Build Back Better, including Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. No, Breitbart, but no one's reporting on it. I mean, we are. Right. but we need to have a real analysis. Someone has to ask, why are you using a slogan that's used by the United Nations? Right, but the media is supposed to ask these things. Any main M5, I'm just saying, any M5M outlet that doesn't question this is just, you can just write them off. How blind are we? Most
of them.
But we're not blind. We see this. Build back better. Everyone's using it. This can't be.
It's definitely globalist code.
Yeah.
Because that's why they keep saying it. Boris Johnson, who apparently has sold out, I think when he had COVID, they locked him up, and I don't know what they did to him.
Yeah.
And he's strained. If you listen to that clip, which is an excellent clip, if you listen to that clip, he's strained to sneak it in.
He actually worked on it because their slogan is build, build, build. It's not even build back better. There's a sign on his lectern that said build, build, build. But no, he slipped it in.
He had to slip it. He had to, because it's a code saying, okay, I'm in the club. I used it. So don't hurt me again.
No, the code is we're part of the Great Reset. We're part of the World Economic Forum.
The Great Reset, which is what it's called.
Yeah.
You see a lot of documents calling the Great. I was looking at one the other day. It was from one of the stock brokerage companies, the Great Reset, and it was the Canadian document that was sent to me by one of our producers. She sent me the Great Reset document, which is Trudeau's document, and she also mentioned that the people they're putting in office are very sketchy. Some of these international globalists as economic ministers. The whole thing is incredibly, very, it's almost like a coup d'etat, world coup d'etat, and it's not working. It will work here once they elect Joe Biden, but with Trump in office, nothing that's going to happen.
And I'm surprised that he hasn't come out and said something about it.
I don't think he's noticed it. His advisors are no good.
Either
that or he has noticed it, and he's still working on the cannibals.
It's not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing.
Trump did do about an hour speech at the Council for National Policy. And I think that this was an example of how he's going to be all the way through the election. This is CEO Trump, the one I've been saying, although no one's watching it. No one carries it. Even Fox doesn't carry the daily briefings if he does one. They don't carry it gavel to gavel. They cut out, or it's just they don't find it interesting. But he's vibrating. He has higher vibration. It's much more positive. He's calm. He's the CEO delivering the quarterly results. He does it with flair, finesse. I think the size audience. That this was a test run for his speech coming up this week. This is exactly the size audience I think he'll have if he indeed does it on the White House lawn or whatever they're talking about. And he has something to prove. He has to change. He has to really take away any remembrance of the Democratic National Convention. And I think this people will like this Trump if he can make it show all the way through all the time. They're short, except one is not short. But he also talks a lot about actual policy and things that are happening. And I could not keep this 12-second clip from you.
Look what we've accomplished. And now this plague comes in, and look at the way they talk. But look at what's happening, and look at how we're shooting up. We call it a super V. It's no longer a V. It's a super V.
We went from the V to the check mark. Now it's the super V. Super V. He had a new material. I thought very good joke about Biden.
If you look at what they're doing, Biden, he wants to end fracking, end petroleum products, end petroleum, no natural gas, no nothing, end everything, and that's it. How does that work in Texas? How does that work in Pennsylvania? I was in Pennsylvania yesterday, a place that he said he was born in, which is true, but he left when he was like 9 years old. So he left a long time ago. He left 7 decades ago. And he still calls it his home. And his real home is a place he never leaves anymore. He just...
Yeah, he had a number. These were, but it was well told, and he would refer back to it. And he's very confident. Whatever he's got going on, he's confident. And I like this, where he, in relation to Iran, but really the Middle East peace deal, which he's been working on for, I guess Javanka or Jared's been working. By the way, we were talking about the F-35, how Trump was talking it up, and we were joking about he probably wants to sell those turkeys. Well, guess what? Apparently, Kushner had a deal to sell the F-35s to the UAE. It's just, hey, come on into our club here, and hey, look at these great jets we'll give you. Cheap. We got a deal for you this week while stocks last.
The last administration left us with a Middle East in chaos. This was a Middle East in chaos. Iran was empowered and exporting terror. They don't have too much money now. They're not spending billions of dollars giving it to Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah, some of these wonderful groups that are totally vicious, crazed lunatics. But Iran's different. It's having a hard time. Its GDP went down at a level that you wouldn't even believe, in the 20s. And they'll make a deal. I say they'll make a deal within a month, but I probably mean a week. But I just want to be right. Because they'll call me. They'll say, it took 10 days. He was wrong. They just want to see if I win, they'll be in making a deal. And if for some reason I don't, they'll take their time and they will get one of the great deals since the last one, where we paid them $150 billion. Gave them 150 for nothing. It wasn't even a long-term deal. It was, right now, the time is almost up. This was like a short-term deal. It's like you rent a store in a shopping center. These are countries we're dealing with. You need length. But it was a short-term deal. But more important, we gave them $1.8 billion in cash. Think of that. Cash. We flew it in Boeing 757s, loaded from floor to ceiling with cash. What were these people thinking? And had I kept that deal, we terminated that deal. Had I kept that deal, we could never have started this incredible thing that's happening with UAE, Israel, and everybody saying, why haven't you invited us? Okay, we're dealing with many countries now want to come in. This was an impossible thing to even conceive of. Impossible.
I think he's truthful about that. I think that they somehow, with Soleimani, Iran, which of course is connected to Iran, then the coincidence, I would say, of the Beirut explosion, all of a sudden this deal comes together and everyone else is going, hey man, I want in. How come you didn't call us? I think it may be working. I think that maybe, there's still a lot of Turkey and Russia has to be dealt with, but I think something may be happening.
Maybe.
Okay.
I know he's been practicing this sketch. I mean, what you just played, which was in front of a live audience where they were clapping for him.
That's what I said.
Was pretty much what he said in front of a press conference like last week.
Yeah, and I think that this is what he's going to do.
And he's working on his speech. I mean, I might as well mention Joe Biden's horrible speech.
Well, I have one last one from Trump, and then I want you to take over with that.
Well, not that much, but I'd have some.
Well, this was I like this one because I had noticed this too.
But the more success that we've achieved, the more unhinged the radical left has become. Anarchists and violent mobs have rioted in our Democrat-run cities, attacking our police and tearing down statues. And as you know, I signed a clause. I got an old bill, when they used to do powerful things, when they knew what the hell they were doing. I took an old bill and I gave a nice, beautiful, brand new executive order. It says very easily, could you imagine getting this today? You rip down a statue, a federal statue, you go to jail, prison, they use the term prison, you go to prison for 10 years. Stop. And I remember there was a big march on Washington. They were coming in to knock a lot of statues down. And they even had Thomas Jefferson planned. That was in their planning. No thanks. George Washington. They were even thinking about Lincoln. You know, Lincoln did sort of a pretty good job, right? But they were talking about anybody. I don't even know if they knew what they were doing. They're just wild and out of control. But I signed this 10 years in prison if you knock down a statue. We have people right now in jail that are going to trial, by the way, and that was from previous to signing it. But if you remember, that was a big thing 2.5 months ago. You know when I signed it? 2.5 months ago. 2.5 months ago I signed it. We haven't had a problem since. They say, you know, we want to knock down that statue, but, you know, 10 years. Let's see, 10 years, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time. Which tells you that, you know, laws, if properly utilized, can stop all of this madness. And that's why we have to give our great police back their dignity and their power.
You know, I hadn't really thought about it, but then I went back and looked, and it stopped like overnight, the statue crap. It stopped overnight.
Yeah, it's pretty much stopped overnight. And of course, overnight, there's like in the last few days, Denver's broken out for some unknown reason.
What, with violence?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Breaking windows at Quiznos and knocking down old women and just a mess.
Really?
I mean, nobody's isolated why, as far as I can tell. I just started, so I have to look into it. Biden, meanwhile, of course, had gave his speech, which the Democrats loved. And here's a rando, this is a rando really good speech comment from I forget the name of this podcast, the one with that Rick character, the guy who started the Lincoln Project.
Oh, Rick Wilson?
The woman on there.
Yeah. All right.
Biden for one more second, because it was really a good speech. And we were all really worried because the Trump has been able to shape this narrative, even though it's not true. And I think that we should be talking about that a little more. It's like,
what?
Yeah, she goes on and on and on. Joe, she's talking about Trump has made a narrative, or shaped a narrative that Biden's a doddering old man who can't give a speech.
Oh.
And so then they put up this canned speech, which everyone in the Democrat side seemed to like, even though who knows how many times it was recorded, because that was not a live speech.
Yes, and I wanted to make a brief mention about that, because I saw the transition shot, and that was my clue. And there's people, he wasn't wearing the pin, wasn't wearing a watch. Yeah, he was. The only thing you could really tell that it wasn't the same. Well, first let me tell you what the transition shot was. So when they're done, and then Kamala and Doug come on stage, and they're all waving at the screen, and they'd smartened up. They weren't duplicating the people anymore, so they had DNC logos, where previously, as we discussed, they had used duplicate people and were found out. And of course, that caused exactly zero.
Couldn't they get more people?
Well, not if you're doing it on the QT and it's pre-recorded, and you don't want too many people, except maybe for key staffers and their families, to be in that phony baloney Zoom audience. So the transition from the taped version to live.
I just realized what you're going to say, because I think I saw this.
All of a sudden, they had a shot of a full screen with every single box filled, but it wasn't a camera shot. It was just a transition shot, as we call it. They threw it in there.
Yeah.
And that was the transition. That was the transition, because they didn't have a screen. Whatever it was a poor choice, and I caught it. And then I started looking like, okay, what's different? The only thing I could see, his tie during the speech was tied in a manner that the knot sloped upward to his left. And when he was outside with the fireworks, it was straight. That meant someone would have had to actually retie the knot. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. I mean, to me, it's like, hey, you had a stage outside. Why didn't you do it outside? It was cool with the cars with their blinkers on. That was a good vibe. It was well lit.
It would have been dynamite.
It looked fantastic. That would have been the place for him to do it.
But he can't do it.
I know. I think they had it there in case he felt like he was up for it, but there was just no way. And basically they gave him the speech from 2008. Read this.
It's the 2008 speech. There's some guy that did a compilation. I have a clip of it.
Oh, good.
But I only have the first three. The guy sped up the whole thing, and he ruined the clip. I tried to slow it down with both tempo and speed using, some sound editing tools. But because he sped it up the way he did, he out so much information that if you tried to fix it, you couldn't do it. So I have this Biden 2008 comp clip showing the same things he said in 2008 that he said in this speech. I'm going to go get the old speech and write out the ones he said and write out the ones he said this time and put a comparison essay together, because there's probably the whole speech was ripped off. This was his 2008 acceptance speech for being VP.
Barack Obama has worked his way up. He is the great American story. Senator Kamala Harris, she's a powerful voice for this nation. Her story is the American story. That work is more than a paycheck. It's dignity. A job is about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's respect. It's about whether or not you can look your child in the eye and say, we're going to be all right. It's about respect. It's about your place in the community. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, that's really too bad. That works with the video. Doesn't work in audio that way.
No, that's why I only did this first.
But side by side is very similar. Very, very similar.
Yeah, and it's the same. It's like,
hey, John, can you imagine how that sounded for people who listen at 2 times speed to this show?
Oh, yeah. Good for them. So the thing is that it's obvious, that in 2008, everything he's asking for again 12 years later. It's pathetic.
Yeah.
But they go on with this. In fact, I read just an article here from, this is on Fox, by the way, is completely on Biden's camp for all practical purposes, except for the few hosts. And this is from an article by Laura Fink, talking about how the conservative women should be, are given an open invitation to vote for Biden. And I'm going to just read the last 3 paragraphs of this article that's ran on Fox. In every video montage and speech, the courage of women took center stage, talking about the Democratic convention. From the story of the Democratic vice presidential nominee Kamala Harris's mother raising 2 daughters while doing cancer research, to former Second Lady Jill Biden helping to raise 2 young children devastated by the loss of their own mother. It will take courage for conservative women to vote in opposition to not only their party, but very likely their husbands, their pastors, and their families.
Oh.
Biden, yeah, you can get that part of it. Biden, and then she finishes, Biden, and listen to this, Biden, in his powerful acceptance speech on Thursday night, perhaps said it best when he said that, quote, the job of a president is to represent all of us, not just our base of our party. And I just found that to be this is Fox. So, the mainstream media now has been completely taken over by the Democrats.
Did Fox at least debunk the Very Fine People, which seemed to be another kind of pillar?
No, but on Laura Ingram's show, she had 3 guests. One was a black guy.
Mm-hmm.
And the black guy in the middle, she said, well, what do you think was wrong with the speech? Or what was, she kind of thought it was a good speech herself, and then she got shut down for that.
Mm-hmm.
The black guy in the group, the one guy, he's the one who brought it up. He says, no, this is nonsense. This is debunking thing. And meanwhile, of course, Scott Adams went off on it. And I do have Scott Adams' reaction.
Yeah.
Scott Adams went nuts.
Scott Adams was very, very upset. And he does that for effect, though. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Well, he said that he was going to cuss a lot. I have 2 clips from Scott going off on Joe Biden for this, because it's a personal thing with Scott, this fine people.
Because Scott Adams can't understand why he, the master manipulator, the master persuader, the actual hypnotist, can't hypnotize the country the way the country is about this one thing. That's what he's so pissed off about. He can't believe that he can't change it.
He's very pissed off about it. So I have the clips, but I thought they were so rude and filled with cuss words that I bleeped them.
Wow.
So I went through the trouble of bleeping Scott Adams' curse-filled Biden rant. This is part one.
So Joe Biden tries to sell himself as the kind and caring guy, the man with character, and then he bases his whole campaign on the Find People hoax. Do I care that he's a lying piece of shit? Not really. I don't care if Biden is an I mean, these politicians can be bad people. I don't really care that he's a lying piece of shit. But I do care that he painted a target on my back. This is personal. This isn't about politics anymore. This isn't about the tax rate. This isn't about any thing except this one of the worst people in the whole world just painted another target on my back. Now, it would be one thing if he had said it once. I'd say, well, you know, he tried it out and it didn't work. But making it the centerpiece of his whole campaign, that is going to make me vote for the first time. First time recently. I'm going to vote for self-defense because this guy can't be in charge. Not with a race hoax. Now, people are going to say, well, what about Trump? What about the things he says that are not true? Well, yeah. He might say some things that don't pass the fact checkers. Maybe. But are they ever like this? This isn't like anything he's ever done. He told you he wanted to keep crime out of the country, and then that turned into he's a racist. Trying to protect your country is the job of the president. It's the opposite of what Joe Biden is doing. He's not trying to protect the country. He's trying to tear it apart. The Find People hoax is not like other lies. It's the tentpole hoax that makes people who are stupid and believe the fake news think that it's all true. Because if they see this one's true, they say, well, it must be true that the other thing they're saying about it is true. It's the only one that they think they saw with their own eyes and heard with their own ears because it got edited so they don't hear the clarification.
The BBC did debunk this, believe it or not.
Oh.
They had three...
That's interesting.
Well, it was just one...
It gets debunked, but nobody pays attention to it, and Biden sure doesn't.
Well, here's what...
Let's play part two of this.
Therefore, it makes us look like Joe Biden, if you're making your fellow citizens targets for violence and discrimination, and you're doing it intentionally, you are not worthy of being a citizen in this country, much less a leader. You have not qualified at the basic level of understanding the Constitution, which should treat us equally and should not have you targeting your fellow citizens for violence and for discrimination. You piece of and it's worse. It's worse than that. Here's why it's worse. Joe Biden has introduced a new form of slavery. That's right. He just introduced a new form of slavery. Because this Find People hoax has the intention of, first of all, winning the election, but also to bind black people, black voters, to the Democrat Party. If he does that, and it looks like he's succeeding, he has once again taken away all black political power. If you live in this country and you're allegedly a citizen, shouldn't you get some political power? How about that? Why do white people have political power? Why do they? How come black people can't have political power? Because you don't have any political power if you just vote Democrat. Because Joe Biden told you the biggest lie in American history, and you bought it. You believed it because you watch CNN and you think it's news.
I'm a fan of Scott Adams. I find this very weak. Very, actually, borderline sad, because he has no words. He just has to cuss over and over. I mean, I cuss a lot, but he has no words left. And I think he's just mad at himself that he hasn't been able to convince the masses. And I think he's new at this game. He really thinks that he is all that in a bag of chips, that he can make stuff happen. It's just not true, Scott. Well, sorry.
Couple of things. One, I agree with that, what you said. Two, I think it's more impactful to listen to it with the bleeps.
I agree.
Than the cussing.
I agree. Well, I know why you do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I did it because I heard it and I said, and I thought back to Jimmy Kimmel's, the unnecessary bleeping, where they do bleeping.
Right.
Where there isn't anything to bleep. And I realized that the bleeping itself is better than the cussing, although it's pretty funny what he says. But he has, I used to send him a GIF images. Every time he brought this, he'd bring this up in his Twitter feed, this hoax. And every time, and he'd fight against it. And every time he did, I sent a Twitter feed of somebody like shoveling sand into the ocean, or somebody bailing out of water.
And did he unfollow you?
No, he never unfollowed me. I think I sent him a note. I said, if you're getting sick of this, let me know. But I keep writing him on it. So I got the biggest kick out of this particular. He's now lost control and he has to cuss like a maniac because this situation is just beyond his comprehension that this could happen.
Meanwhile, unbleeped cussing took place during the United States Postal Service hearing, which had Postmaster General DeJoy on deck to answer questions, and Senator Carper was struggling with the Zoom setup.
Thanks, Senator Portman. Again, I want to just remind our committee members, please keep your questioning as well as factor in the answer to try and keep within those 7 minutes. Senator Carper? Is Senator Carper there? We'll move on to Senator Langford.
What? Oh,
Mr.
Chairman, I think Senator Carper is there. I think he's trying to be able to get it all up right now.
Senator Carper, can you unmute?
The best part is they had video with it too. Like, fuck, it was like me with a technical breakdown.
Oh yeah, you go sometime. No, it hasn't happened recently.
No, I've matured.
By the way, before we leave the Biden thing, I do have an ISO from the Scott Adams thing for the potential end of the show.
Okay. It's not Scott Adams. What it is? What
it says bleep bleep.
Oh, there we go. There's your. Let's see.
You piece of
And with that, I'd like to thank you very much for your courage and say in the morning to you, the man who put the 1K, who put the C in the 1K censorship beep. There you go, Mr. John C. Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, in the morning, all ships at sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and nights out there.
In the morning to our troll room on this wonderful Sunday. Let's have a troll count. Hands up, low, 20 below average, 1788, but you're all welcome. Good to see you at noagendastream.com. That's where everybody can listen to the show live. Many shows live. It actually starts early. Darren O'Neill does the rock and roll pre-show, and we have a live show, I think, almost every single day on noagendastream.com. And, of course, the best podcast playing 24/7. You can go in there and you can troll around. That's why it's the troll room. That's the rule. Go troll. And make sure you troll Doug. Ask him for an invite to No Agenda Social, noagendasocial.com, our federated social network. It's free. You just got to get the invite from someone who's already there or from Doug in the troll room. And it's a great place to actually hang out and post something and have people reply to it and not just a whole bunch of outrage. No algos. noagendasocial.com. And we'd like to thank the artists for episode 1270. We called it the Twindemic. This was a great piece. This was Correct the Record, who had listened very closely to the young Democrats on the DNC live stream who kept speaking of a Grand New Deal. And subsequently, we invented the Grand New Dill pickle, jar of pickles, and it popped. It was beautiful. There were a number of people who did the Grand New Dill with a pickle, but this was the background, everything was just dynamite.
Yeah, it looked terrific.
There was one Dutch lady, Sonja, I think on Twitter, and I don't know if she's listened to the show or she follows me, and she's like, "Wow, I don't think those are available everywhere." I guess she's a pickle aficionado, and she's posting pictures of her favorite pickles. I'm like, no, I assure you, this Green New Dill is available everywhere. Trust me, it's coming to your town soon. It was just cute. She really thought, I got to get some of these at Whole Foods. Okay, cool. Correct the Record. Let's see, Correct the Record, I think, has had a couple, maybe, I don't know if...
I think he had one other one. I think he did the green or the orange. Well, maybe not.
No. It was the Monopoly board,
he's had
which we like.
No, he's new. He's only done a few pieces.
Well, Correct the Record is
in. He did the Monopoly board that looked nice but was unusable
for us. Yep.
He did the error message that I was complaining about. Looked too much like a real error message. And,
so our feedback and our notes, our input has worked well. We have created a star.
Well, we have to. Artists don't mind. I mean, that's what they do.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not like fine art we're dealing with that you can't be critical of because you don't understand it. This is kind of basically this is commercial art. And when you deal with commercial arts, you got art directors and suits and CEOs and everybody else chiming in.
Meetings.
Oh, that's no good. You can't have that. It's not art. It's not the right PMS color. Yeah.
This is exactly what it's like. It's no joke, especially if the client gets involved. Oh man, that's managing by committee. It's a very bad idea. Doesn't pan out well.
We don't use that color combination under any circumstances.
It's not exactly our color code for the logo. It's too close to the logo. It's too far away from the logo. The logo's not big enough. It's the wrong size. Where's our style book? Not here, ladies and gentlemen. Not at the best podcasting universe, where we deploy the value for value model, which means you get out of it what you put into it. And I think Correct the Record should get lots of karma and kudos for creating this art for us. And if you want to see more, if you want to submit,
maybe you should actually start a pickle company.
There you go. You got your brand. You got everything good to go. You're already fooling people in Europe, so there's a possibility. Throw some of them cucumbers in. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. You know, John, can we reconnect? We got a huge delay.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. Let's go to a different network.
Yes, because you also got that problem going on.
Yeah, let's try this.
Did that do anything?
I haven't done anything. I'm looking around. I couldn't find my...
Oh, just looking around.
I will unhook this.
Yeah, we're looking at like a 1.5-second delay all of a sudden for some odd reason.
I don't know. Maybe
hello?
This will be better.
Hello? Give me a count.
Hello.
I'm going to give you a count. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
0.
Perfect. Okay. And NoAgendaArtGenerator.com.
And we want to start by thanking Adam himself from Austin for donating. I don't know why he did this, but $666. So what was the point of that?
What are you talking about?
The first person to the donor says Adam from Austin. That's you.
That's a different Adam. Not me. Although the 666 is quite telling. It is my trademark, but no, different Adam from Austin with no comment at all.
No, I couldn't find it under the word donation used in the subject line or from anyone named Adam.
That's odd.
Yeah, well.
And it's obviously has some kind of meaning. The 666. Well, we'll just take it at face value. And thank you very much.
Adam from Austin writes in or says something, we will maybe read his note next show.
All right. Well, thank you very much. It's you are executive producer of episode 1271. Excellent.
Now I'm waiting for a jingle.
Oh, yes. I'm so sorry. In my haste this morning, I did not notice that. We'll do this one.
Newsbomb!
Is it Newsbomb?
Well, thank you, Mr. Newsbomb, also known as Dwayne Melanson.
Fuck me. There's no name there. That's why I couldn't know it. How could I know?
Well, because there's only one Grand Duke of the Pacific
Ladies
Northwest.
And gentlemen,
do you know how much I do every morning?
The Grand Duke of the Pacific Northwest, Sir Dwayne Melanson.
There you go. I apologize.
How much you do? You should know who the Dukes are.
Okay. Thanks.
There's only 5 of them. $369.15 from Tigard, Oregon, or Tigard, or whatever you had. I don't know how you pronounce it.
You should know by now how to pronounce that place. There's only 5 of them.
There's only one. There's actually 2 of them. Alan Bean is from Tigard now.
Yeah. Yes.
ITM, gentlemen, props for the valued analysis. I expect it to rise in value as we move toward the election, especially now that Biden plus Harris are official. Hashtag America / hashtag Target Clip and karma for all producers, please.
We are here, hashtag America, near our hashtag Target. Soon.
I remember that one.
You've got karma.
I don't know. Yeah, I barely remember it. Chris Spradling, Spradling in Healdsburg, California, 33333. He's got a few jingles up front, and that's true. Little girl game, karma for everybody in the wildfires. Rain stick for the fires if you think it'll work. It'll cause more fires. In the morning, John and Adam, this donation is to go toward the damehood of my hotter than the California wildfires wife, Amy. After hitting her in the mouth over a year ago, she has become an avid listener of the No Agenda and MoFax. Another convert.
Mm-hmm.
Today, August 23rd, is her birthday, and all she wanted was to be an executive producer. Wow. We need more women like that.
Yeah.
I know it will brighten her day despite the yellow smoky skies and living one zone away from mandatory evacuation. She's a real keeper.
There you go.
And the light of my life. Happy birthday, Amy. Thanks to both of you. We derive a lot of value from your work. And as you say, couples who know agenda together stay together. I would like to request a karma and a consideration for a rain stick shake to help out everybody dealing with the wildfires. Also, please put her on the birthday list. She's on the list. You have the other jingles too. We'll play them right now.
But are we not doing this rain stick? I just want. I mean, you're saying no stick.
If we get rain in California in the summer like this, we get lightning strikes. Lightning strikes cause these fires.
Yes.
So how is that a positive thing?
I'm just asking. I'm not local to the area.
No, I say no. No.
Okay.
Let the fires be.
Let it burn. John C. Dvorak.
No, let them be put out without being started over.
That's true. You've got karma.
Lightning, no good. Not in California, anyway. Edward Siemens in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, $333. And I don't have a note from him, but if you read the next note, I'll see if I can find one.
Okay, that's Josh Magnuson. And another donor from Austin, 23301 in the morning, John and Adam. This is my first donation. It is long overdue. I've been an avid listener since December when I was hit in the mouth by my coworker, Ross Reynolds Brewery Ambassador. I'd like to give a big thank you to him for introducing me to the show, and a big thank you to you two for keeping my amygdala the correct size. Yes. You're welcome. I'd also like to take this opportunity to wish my smoking hot lady, Sammy Weeks, a happy 33-plus first birthday, so 34th, I guess. Sunday, August 23rd. Today, I've tried to hit her in the mouth several times, but she really knows how to duck and dodge. She loves to listen to the show with me or when we're in the car together, but I still can't get her to listen on her own yet. I know. For some women, it feels dirty, I've heard. Keep up the great work, guys. Josh Magnuson. Oh, and John, stay safe. Thank you very much, Josh.
Yes, I will. And no note found. And nobody with that last name has written in, at least to my email.
Okay. I looked. I don't have it either.
Lisa in Foxborough, Massachusetts comes in at $225.21. And she says, today I donated for the first time to your No Agenda podcast. The amount of $225.21 is a celebration of the due date of my first grandchild. I was hit in the mouth by a friend several months ago and love your podcast. It has kept me sane, entertained, and informed throughout this crazy time. Keep up the good work. Lynch 419 or Lisa in Foxborough.
I'm going to give her and all other expectant moms, I'm going to give you a little bit of human resource delivery karma.
You've got karma.
You know, the hospitals and stuff. It's lame. It's lame.
Lootsage.org is next on the list.
Have you seen this?
No. $202.02. No,
I'll read it. go to the website. This is quite funny.
Okay.
We are eternally grateful for your incredibly insightful and relevant media deconstruction that shines a light on the darkness in our world and gives us a much-needed comedic relief to boot. Loot Safe, not Sage, lootsafe.org has created a new platform to allow those who are doing the work a way to fully express their commitment to the mantra of people over poverty being used to justify looting and rioting. The next time you hear a noodle boy or girl say we shouldn't condemn looting or rioting, refer them to lootsafe.org to offer them a convenient way to fight for the cause. If silence is violence, offering up your property for looters is the act of screaming out in the name of social justice. Much love to the entire No Agenda community. The best podcast tribe in the universe. We request an It's True double shot and karma for Sir Scott Williams and Alicia's future human resource. Did you look at the website?
It's hilarious.
There you go. It is pretty funny.
And I would recommend people check it out.
Karma.
I love it. Yeah, you can give up your house. You know, it's like you can really be a part of the movement by letting people loot your house. Or office.
It's a part of reparations.
Yes.
It's Loot Safe.
Lootsafe.org.
All right, here we got another missing note from Gary Ferris. I will go back.
You go look for that, and I'll move on to Kyle Romagus, R-O-M-A-G-U-S, Romagus, from Texas, Splendora, Texas. First off, I want to thank you for doing the work and continuously providing. He gave us $200, associate executive producer. For continuously providing us lucky bastards with the best podcast in the universe. Longtime listener, and I haven't donated in a while, so I do humbly request a de-douching for being such a damn freeloader.
You've been de-douched.
Along with the donation, I'd like to share something troubling with you guys. As you may know, on August 19th, Facebook banned 900 pages and groups and 1,500 ads that were categorized as QAnon conspiracy pages. And to hear MSNBC tell everyone involved that these pages are involved with, quote, a right-wing conspiracy that accuses Democrats and anyone who has eaten a slice of pizza that they are all in a cabal that abuses children. I'm not here to defend QAnon at all, but I'm here to tell you that Facebook also banned hundreds of patriot groups and so-called militias at the same time and are lumping those bans all in together, and that King Zuck can put off that he is the savior of truth while also erasing the social media existence of conservative groups. And believe it or not, this is not the best part. Okay. I'm a fire instructor and teaching with a training group called Oath Keepers. I can see the trouble coming down Broadway. Our goal is to provide aggressive fire training and to promote the mindset that firefighters must keep their oath and made to the citizens that states that we will put them first and do everything in our power to provide them with the level of service that we would want our families to have showing up the emergency. And believe it or not, there is a push in the fire service to make them second, and we are constantly fighting against it, but that's a story for another donation letter. Okay, so the Oath Keepers group got banned. I would like, first of all, thank you for your support. Kyle, get the F off of Facebook and take all your Oath Keepers with you. This is stupid. Why are you complaining? You know that this is going to happen. Facebook is no good if you actually want to communicate. It's the messaging system for the elites, for the upper class. They don't care about you. And they have their own fire department. I feel very bad, and I understand. Also, Oath Keepers, you know what's going to happen. Go to noagendasocial.com. Start your own Mastodon. And federate. You can do it.
Federate.
I'm going to give you a big karma for you guys.
You've got karma.
Get off Facebook.
All right, Gary Ferris, F-P-H-A-R-E-S, has no note by that name. Spring Valley, California, gave us $201 when I make him associate executive producer.
Yes.
But no, again, there's nothing to say. Meanwhile, Dame Zelda of the Turtle Realm comes in with $200, and she says, August 25th will be my 70th birthday.
Hey now.
I will be regressed back to the 6th grade middle school. Due to school closings and COVID, I will be overseeing my granddaughter's schooling for several months. That's what she's referring to. She's now got to go to the 6th grade.
Mm-hmm.
May I please have whatever karma that will help me with my old brain and new teachings, and for everyone else who needs it. Thanks, Dame Zelda of the Turtle Realm.
Well, Dame Zelda, I consider your granddaughter to be one lucky human resource. She will probably learn more from you in a few months than everything she's learned up to date. I know, because you are Dame Zelda.
You've got karma.
All right.
That's it?
There is something screwy here.
Well, we do have a few notes that need to be read because we have some knightings from lower level donors. Didn't come in at associate.
Oh, we have the Ron Schul note for sure.
Okay. Do you have that one handy? Because there's something else.
That's
here.
the one that's on the email. I'm not open. I was doing too many searches, so I can go back and get it.
Well, why don't you do that, and I'll read this from Vasilios.
Well, actually, I have printed it out for my convenience. Pop money donations. He sent in some pop money. He got knighted. Pop money donations are always credited when I see them. This is my note to him. I was knighted in episode 720. Sir Deep Thought, Protectorate of the Backyard Farm. My 84 pop money was not credited to the show. Oh, I didn't print out page 2 of this note. All right. Okay, do yours and I'll go dig this one up.
I'm just as bad, believe me. This is from Vasilios Plangedis in Annapolis, Maryland. I'm messaging you to claim my knighthood. May I have the title of Sir Vasilios, Knight of the Soft and Whiny Annapolitans? Think?
Neapolitans?
No, he's from Annapolis, but he wants Annapolitans.
Close enough.
And he wants mint tulips and manga at the round table. May I also request some jingles from my beautiful, sweet, smart, and caring girlfriend? Make good for a previous associate executive producership where the jingles were not read. Oh my gosh. She listens to the podcast now, and couples that know agenda together indeed stay together. So, Noodle Gun, Don't Eat Me Bo Jiden. Oh my goodness, I didn't have any of these ready because I didn't know. And what else does he say here? Thank you both for introducing me to some fantastic podcasts. Question for John. When, oh John, will you star on Who Are These Podcasts with that a-hole hot Carla? It's been 2 months since the initial request, and I'm eagerly awaiting to hear the episode. If you haven't yet, go listen to Mo Facts. Okay, thanks. Very informative, insightful. And the podcast Creep Off. Trust me, it's worth it. So, would you have an answer for...
I do have an answer. I'm going to do that show as soon as I find a couple of podcasts I can talk about, because the show is about other podcasts.
Right.
And I have really... I haven't developed my material. I'm not going on there like just as an ad lib or talking about myself. I'm going to go in there like a regular... like one of the guys, complaining or talking or discussing one of the other podcasts, and I'm going to have at least 2 of them under my belt that I can discuss intelligently. So it's going to be a while, but it will happen.
It's going to be a while because you can't find anything that's any good?
It's not a matter of what's good. It's a matter of what's discussable.
Oh. Okay.
Because finding podcasts that are no good... I mean, just like go to Apple Podcasts and throw a dart.
Needle drop. All right. Well, we'll keep everybody updated on that. Stay safe. Soon to be Sir Vasilios. Shout out to the blue team. Y'all are sweaty nerds. Looking forward to bringing my wonderful lady to the round table. You betcha. And here,
by the way, I also have to do Nick the Rat, so that's coming up.
Yeah, he had some jingles here. So, and why is this not working? What is going on here? Come on, play.
I'm gonna shoot you in the face with my noodle gun, you racist piece of shit. I got my pasta Glock locked and loaded.
Don't eat me, Bo Jiden. You're scary. So scary.
Come on, man.
I got this. Fuck me. Now, fuck me. I'm stopping tape for a second.
Beep, 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 beep.
Fuck me. Fucking piece of shit. Sorry. To reload everything.
Tourette's.
No, I'm just fucking pissed. That's all. I'm pulling a Scott. Well, because I have malfunctions here.
Oh.
And the malfunction makes me have to, and it's just, I don't know why it happens. It's not a good day. You're glitching, and I said it. You're delayed and glitching.
And delayed and glitching.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Ever since you did this great 2 networks, it's not been great for me.
I'm not on 2 networks. It was running great when I was on 2 networks. I'm only on 1.
It's been crap for the past...
Hey, fires.
3, yeah, sure. Sure, fires.
Well, it started off good.
Yeah, our first stop was after 14 minutes. It started great.
No, I said it started off good. I'm talking about the product that we're using.
Oh, it's not the product. It's your combined network. Something happened, and it's just delayed and glitchy, and I have it with no one else. I know, you don't care. I know.
I do care, but I'm not going to have a conniption fit.
Yeah, because you're not responsible for the sound.
I feel responsible.
Oh, okay. All right, I got to open that up again. Now, what were these jingles he wanted? And that one. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See if I can get it going again.
I'm gonna shoot you in the face with my noodle gun, you racist piece of shit. I got my pasta Glock locked and loaded.
Don't eat me, Bo Jordan. You're scary. So scary.
Come on, man.
That's true. You've got karma.
So I've got the note from Shull.
Mm-hmm.
ITM gentlemen, this is Ronald Shull, who came in with $84 in pop money. And got knighted, but wasn't credited for his money, apparently, last show. I don't know how he got knighted, to be honest about it, but he did.
He did get knighted, or he did get knighted, or he didn't get knighted?
He did get knighted.
Okay.
But this is the note that we were supposed to read for his knighting. Yeah, he did get knighted. And he sent a later note saying, I got knighted, but you didn't do anything else. You didn't do anything.
Uh-huh.
So he says, my random pop money and PayPal donation, this is pre-knighting, have done it. I finished my knighthood off and answered the life, universe, and everything. Here's $42 for each of you. I have chosen to wait until I reach my knighthood to ask for a de-douching. So he needs
You've been de-douched.
As a redneck suburban farmer with my gardeners, orchards, chickens, ducks, and other horticulture, I feel my knight name should reflect passion. So knight me, Sir Deep Thought, protector of the backyard farm. And I believe that we did that.
Yes, I'm pretty sure we did. Are you sure? I don't want to mess it up again.
I'm pretty sure. He says we did. If I may, but the one thing we didn't get for him, which maybe we can do it this time, because he's going to be at the round table, as all the knights are. If I'm going to request a one-time special for the round table, Brevs, Breves, I have no idea what that is.
Okay.
And some red vein Borneo, and I have no idea what that is.
It's probably lewd.
No, I think it's a chicken, type of chicken, maybe.
Lewd. Come on, I know our people.
I think it's a type of chicken, and red vein Borneo sounds like a chicken, too. They sound like chicken.
Yeah.
So if you'd put that at the round table, I think that would suffice.
Okay, I've got that.
And he'll be back with another note complaining about something else, because that's what everyone does when they get into the vortex.
Yes, and such as a note from Sir Gomberg, who was just so incensed that we had knighted him and had wished his fiancée a happy birthday, but we missed his jingles again, and he needs to hear them. So here they are.
I'm going to give you the whole load today.
You might die.
Boogity, 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 amen. I've been watching you.
No. Come on, where was I? No. Hey, listen, I love you back.
Jobs.
You've got karma.
I wanted a Trump job, so there you go. Okay, I think we've taken care of all the business now. Everyone's got everything they need. I'm happy.
We hope.
It's so... I like it when people they really got the administration down, you know? Like we're some well-oiled machine with a staff of thousands.
I don't understand how you guys can screw that up.
Exactly. So, how could you screw it up with emails going at different addresses, PayPals with different email addresses,
and leaving stuff off and not having your own name on the email,
your last name? But we love
if you're
you.
Going to send an email that's got a note on it for one of the donations. Make sure that the email address has your name. You can put that in there. It's very easy to do.
It helps.
As opposed to whatever it is. I do have a couple more Biden speech clips.
Typically we close the segment out.
I forgot. There's a bunch of things to do. Business.
Yeah, all the stuff that I do.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really trying to make it sound beautiful and good. Thank you, everybody. Our executive producers and associate executive producers for episode 1271 of No Agenda. It's value for value. So this is why we have... It's crazy. And it's loosey-goosey, and it's not a set system, because we're not paying Patreon to take your money away from the show. No, we do it ourselves, and we do the best we can. That's why we have crazy amounts and donation notes, and it's the mess, but it's our mess, and we love it. And without it, it would not be the best podcast in the universe, because it's produced by us, but certainly by you. And these executive and associate executive producers deserve all that real credit they're getting, which they can use anywhere. And please consider us for the second Thursday show of the week. Go to Dvorak.org/NA. And just remember, all you have to say to fit in the club is Build Back Better.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
All right. So I have a Ask Adam.
Okay. With an associated jingle, or is it just...
No, this is just a quickie.
Okay.
So Biden had a quirk ending his speech. I think he ad-libbed something, personally. Because I want you to listen to... This is the end of the Biden speech. This is Biden quirk ending to speech. Clip 1.
As love and hope and light join in the battle for the soul of the nation. And this is a battle we will win, and we'll do it together. I promise you. Thank you, and may God bless you. And
what
all presidents
say God bless America.
Yes.
God bless the United States. I know what he said.
Sometimes the United States of America.
Yes, I know what he said.
No, he didn't say that.
No, I know what he said. I know what he said.
I know.
I remember because I caught it too. That's what I'm saying. I remember what he said, and it was
but
odd.
the Ask Adam was, what do they normally say?
Oh, okay. Well, God bless the United States of America. What did Joe say? Survey says.
Thank you, and may God bless you, and may God protect our troops.
It was very odd. I think he just messed it up. I don't think he
I think he did too. I feel the same way. I think it was on the speech, and some reason he flubbed it.
Yeah.
That was probably on take 30, I'm guessing. They just gave up.
There was something else he said. He had a real blooper in there where he said, it's been sent to me by several, and I think I heard it, said there's nothing we can do or can't do that's impossible. He used can instead of can't. And it was a nonsensical. The whole thing is ridiculous. Nothing he said meant anything except good vibes and hope and love. What else did he have in there? One thing about China. Quietly something about China. Nothing about what's really going on, and really no promises of any policy. Oh, no, that's not true. Mandate the mask. That was in there. And do the testing right, of course. It was very disappointing. It's just, no. And it makes the mainstream media reporting on it look very stupid.
Well, I'm not getting the praise. I did get a funny little back and forth. I was listening to a lot of podcasts, working on my eventual appearance on the other show.
Yes.
And so I'm listening. Michael Moore's got a podcast.
Yes, we've played some of it.
Yeah, well, he gave me a tip in this podcast to go to find something else, and I found the clips. This is Michael Moore on Warren on Colbert. This is how, by the way, this is just the evidence of the kind of weird stuff that both of us do to get to our clips.
And then Elizabeth Warren, the other night, I think at the end of the second night, was on with Colbert. And Colbert said to him, let me just ask you, because, you've been the one, you fought Wall Street for us. So how do you feel about the fact that, here he quoted the Times, how thrilled Wall Street is that Joe Biden is the candidate, how excited they are about the Biden presidency. What's your answer to that? And then she pivoted to answering something else, and he came back to it. He goes, no, I got to ask you again. Are you as excited as Wall Street is about the Biden? And she pivoted. He asked it a third time. And then he finally had to say, I see I'm not going to get an answer.
Okay.
That's not quite how it went, but it was a colorful kind of analysis.
Uh-huh.
It's actually better to listen to the real Colbert Warren clips. And this is how that actually went.
But before we go on to the Senate and Mitch McConnell in the post office, I want to ask you about Joe Biden and big business, because big business was afraid of you. My friends who are bankers are afraid of you, but Wall Street's fine with Joe Biden. Are you fine with Wall Street being fine with Joe Biden?
Look, how could anybody be afraid of me? All I want is everyone to follow the rules. Come on.
That's what they're most afraid of.
We got 77 days. 77 days. We're going to get Joe Biden elected.
Okay, yeah, but you're cool with the Joe, that like big Hollywood, tech, Wall Street, they're fine with Joe Biden. No problems there.
77 days. 77 days.
77 days. I don't think she's hearing my mic. I don't think she's hearing. No. I don't think she's hearing my question. I think
have me back tomorrow, and I'll tell you 76 days. 76 days.
All right. What an a-hole, Warren.
Oh yeah.
What is? Yeah. That is. What has she got? Some secret strategy? You're going to blow us away with something, Liz? Something new we don't know about? Oh, yeah.
I thought that was a pathetic... I think it apparently bothered Michael Moore, too.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of problems. There's a lot of problems with these two Democratic candidates. The millennial girls are... it's a strife. Kamala Harris is a real problem. They can't get over her. I don't really like her. And, so, of course, now they don't notice that she's a woman of color. No, she's no good. But we have to just accept her to get Joe, because otherwise it's, they're 2 steps removed from getting Trump out by voting for Kamala. Meanwhile, the leftist economists are also kind of puzzled. This is, he calls himself a Marxian economist, Professor Richard Wolff. And he actually used to work with Kamala's dad, which you don't hear too much about, with good reason.
I worked for a while with the father of Kamala Harris. He's an economist like me, and he's a left-wing economist like me. And this is his daughter. And, the old saying that the acorn doesn't fall far from the tree,
Well, that's wrong. The acorn can fall very far. A bird can pick it up and take it miles away. And here we have, therefore, a person who could have absorbed, by the way, one of the sharpest, finest economists I've ever worked with, Donald Harris, her father. All attention goes to her mother. Very careful. The bird that took the acorn away, that gets the attention, not the tree that produced together with the mother, obviously, produced the child. But my point is, she left all of that and moved into the establishment center. That's what her career led her to do. But that brings her now into a situation completely different from what we've had before, requiring dramatic, radical change. And here's the woman, the only kind of new face among all of these old politicians. Here's a younger new face. And what has she excelled in? Building a career on being acceptable to the very same old faces that run American politics. It is a tragic kind of behavior which strikes me as an election that is an exercise in denial in a society that wants to believe not the crisis it's in, but the normalcy it wish it were in, and it's going to go through a political theater that celebrates a normalcy that is a fantasy.
Yes. So no one really likes her? There's a lot of pandering towards her, but just not a lot of love that I can find.
Yeah, it's weird. This is going to be very strange. I don't know how she's going to warm up things.
The way she always does it.
Fuck Willie Brown?
Yes, Scott. F-bombing, man. Let's talk about the show for a second. The show itself. The final night. What did you think?
Of the Democrat convention?
Yeah, the final. I mean, what we all watched that television.
It was terrible. It was terrible. It was amateur. Somebody described it as an endless like binge watching a Marriott ad, or somebody once said.
Yeah, it's the transitions, man. It's like the transitions were so slow, and who do they have now? Julia Louis-Dreyfus trying to do some shtick.
I don't know what that was. And then there was also somebody else described it as the world's longest PBS donation marathon. It was just dreadful.
Except you don't even get a tote bag.
You get nothing. The thing that was good about it, but most people didn't watch, and I missed this particular one, and I hate to bring this clip in because it's one from a verboten source.
Uh-oh.
But I did bring the clip in of the woman from the Youth Council, the Youth Caucus of the Democratic National Committee.
Oh, the Grand New Deal? Grand New Deal lady?
No, that was another one, the Brand New Deal lady, but the other one says socialism. We got to get socialism. We got to end capitalism.
That's on this clip?
No, this one's better.
Oh?
This one is the Transgender Caucus. And they're talking about, well, I don't even know how to. The best person to play this clip is going to be Tucker Carlson.
Okay.
And everything he says is correct. And then they throw it to this woman who's a Democrat. This was on the air. It was only on like C-SPAN and PBS that played this part of the convention. But this was on the air, and here it goes.
Now, we've showed you in previous nights this week some of the DNC's platform. They want to get rid of a lot of the country's prisons, for example. They'd like to do away with bail for accused criminals. But that's just a start, just a little taste, a little appetizer before the main course. So for more, we're going to go to someone now called Jay Mai. You should know that Jay Mai's preferred pronouns are they, them. According to their biography at Wake Forest University, Jay Mai is, quote, a black Vietnamese transgender, non-binary, gender-transcendent mermaid queen king currently living out their ever-evolving truths in Winston-Salem, end quote. Got it? Okay, now listen to Jay Mai.
Why can't folks imagine a world without the cops? Why can't folks imagine a world without prisons? Why can't people expand their imaginations to include community care, to include an abolitionist future? And I'm talking about like for real abolition, not just watered down DNC version of abolition. We're talking about abolishing the police. We're talking about abolishing ICE. We're talking about abolishing prisons.
And be sure to warn your daughters. No more field hockey scholarships to Bowdoin for them. No, there are boys on the field. Democrats want biological men to compete with girls in sports. Most parents of girls think that's nuts because it is, and terrible for girls because, obviously.
No, well, Tucker Carlson, she's transphobic.
Well, he brought another one. He brought about 3 people on, including another woman that went on about sports and how men, if they say they're a girl, they should compete with the girls.
Yeah, he's transphobic, John. He's transphobic. We all know it.
Transphobic. Now, I want to say, talking about girls competing with girls and guys, and and the in between. I do have to play this.
Wait, are you going away from the convention?
No.
Okay.
I'm with Biden. No.
All right.
I just have to play this because there's a group called the Republicans Who Hate Trump or something like that's another group, and so they brought this. You tell me if this is a guy or a girl. I think it's just some ballless guy who's a phony, and this ballless guy is going to vote for Biden.
Hello, my name is Mike. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and in 2016 I voted for Donald Trump. And that hurts me to say that today. As I sit here, COVID-19 rages on. 170,000 Americans are dead. The economy is in the toilet. Millions are out of work. And that's the main reason why I'll be voting for Joe Biden in November.
Where was this on? And where did this guy come from? What is this?
It's from on Twitter. It's on Twitter.
You just pulling stuff from Twitter now?
Yeah, well, it's that. Yeah.
Okay. Hold on, because now that you're going to play that, check this out. This was on MSNBC, and I think that I'll just say it right now. Trump is going to get reelected, and I think he'll be by a huge margin. And there's a number of reasons for it. One is it's such a repeat. Everything is. I think the Democrats can't even help themselves not just doing a repeat. And with Democrats, I say, including all of the mainstream media, all of it, and Fox, who's had the balls to sit there and say, "Well, the mainstream does this." You guys are the #1 cable news network. You're the mainstream. Please. But MSNBC has really been working overtime. Even Fox won't stoop to this level in making sure black Americans don't ever say they like Trump. And if you look, if you go to Twitter, you'll see a lot of, and I'm on like gray Twitter with the show I do with Mo. So I don't quite get black Twitter up from the algos, but I get gray. And I see it. Black men will either pull Trump all the way over because they're going to vote for him. Or probably Kanye will take enough away. I think the Democrat Party has no idea how massive, and I've just been studying this for a year, black men in particular, how massive this movement really is. And I give props to, I think it's State Representative Vernon Jones. I don't forget where he's from. He's a Democrat, and he's on with one of these douchebags from MSNBC, one of those guys during the day. In this case, it's important to note they're both African American because it does come up in the conversation, and it's actually about that.
You are an elected Democrat there in the state of Georgia, as I understand it. But Georgia, you're supporting the Republican president's reelection bid. How is that going over in your district?
Well, obviously, my district knows about me. I've served as county executive. I've run a government. I've done things to move my county forward and the people, serve them well, solid record of accomplishments. But this is not about politics. This is about putting your country before politics, putting your country before the party. President Trump is right on target with results. Prior to the pandemic, he had the best, and you know it, the best economy that we've had going back years and years and years. The Democratic Party chose to put
an economy that even many on the right have acknowledged that he inherited from the previous administration.
That's fake news.
Well, we're not doing that.
Now, listen to what this guy does. He said, but we're not doing that. We're not doing that. So he does it, He shills for the Democrats on the air. And then he says, but we're not going to do this. We're not going to do that.
He inherited from the previous administration.
Well, that's fake news.
Well, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
If you look at the unemployment among African Americans during his years and during the Obama years, clearly it was much better. If you look at opportunity zone districts, if you look at support and financial support to historical colleges, clearly it's better off under his administration than the previous administration. So, I don't want to get caught into politics. Well, just because I'm a Democrat, my party feels though that
I like to traffic in facts, and much of what you just said is patently false. But I do want to. No, Representative Jones. This is my show. I'll ask questions.
This is where the guy. I mean, any journalist or interviewer. Shit, man, on MTV, you wouldn't even go, this is my show. I ask the questions. You have to do what I say.
I like to traffic in facts, and much of what you just said is patently false. But I do want to. Representative Jones. This is my show. I'll ask questions. Give me a second.
You had me on your show.
I know,
but don't cut me off when I'm giving an answer.
I'm not cutting you off, but I do want. Are you a paid campaign surrogate?
So this was he's struggling. You can hear he doesn't know what to say. And then all of a sudden they go, ask him if he's paid by the Republicans.
Don't cut me off when I'm giving an answer.
I'm not cutting you off, but I do want. Are you a paid campaign surrogate? Are you being compensated?
Let me be clear. You get paid to shape a liberal narrative. You get paid to attack this president. I don't get a dime for this president. I don't get a dime from the campaign. Everything I've done is in me and based on my principles. And see, that's the problem. When an African American that's elected official,
I did not raise your
race. Let me finish.
Whoa. You're not going to imply that I asked that question because you're black.
So don't ask me that. You only ask me that because I don't fit your narrative. This president never offered anything. I don't want anything from this president. It's what I can do for my country. And you need to accept that many other African Americans and others support this president because of his policies. And to insult me to say, am I getting paid?
I've asked the same question. I have asked the same question
and that's representative
Democrats who come on.
MSNBC and their narrative to keep blacks silent who happen to support this president. Why can't I be like white liberals or other whites? Nobody questions they're getting paid. So I have to get paid. Do you ask Democrats? Do they get paid?
I just said if you're
paid by Joe Biden.
I just said to you.
They are just a bunch of racists at MSNBC. Proof positive. And I think that stuff like this, by the way, what an interesting guy to talk to. Wow, that's really interesting. This must be very difficult. I mean, there's so many questions he could have asked, but no, you just can't do it. You're not allowed to be pro-Trump with any melanin in your skin because that's what they're looking at. It's almost as un-American as what they're doing here in Austin with changing the...
Well, MSNBC is an outlet for the Democratic Party. They're not going to put up with this guy letting this guy talk at all.
Yeah, but then they shouldn't let him on. What kind of idiots are they?
Well, they made a mistake. They're busy.
I think they were... No, not true. They invite the guy on. They know what he's doing. This guy's job was to shame him. That's why the black man is pulled out to shame the other black man. It's disgusting what they're doing. That's what's happening. And then just back to the TV show, which was so expertly directed by Emmy Award winner from his living room. Well,
in his underwear.
It sucked balls, okay? Transitions were slow. Stuff was started at the wrong moment.
Betts wins an Emmy?
Oh, what? Two Emmys. And a Nobel Peace Prize. and then just as bad, well, actually worse than Kerry Washington the previous night, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who I think is a great comedic actress. I've never seen her stand up. If this was an example of it, she needs Seinfeld back.
I like the fact, she was good in Veep. I like the fact that they put her in as a representative of the Democratic Party. She is a bona fide billionaire.
Yep.
Inherited money from the Dreyfus family, huge family of rich people in Europe. And so this is a billionaire, introducing all these guests and Joe Biden. I mean, it's ludicrous.
And then she made what she thought was a funny joke. And I said, I liked her on Veep. I said she's a good comedic actress. She's not a television host. And she clearly can't do any kind of stand-up, which you shouldn't do without an audience. But she did this, trying to, I guess, make a joke about the fact that people have mispronounced Kamala as Kamala. And I'm sure it's the president. Oh, what a bonehead. So she said this.
Joe Biden shares John Lewis's belief that every vote matters. Personally, I plan to follow the example of 6 current cabinet members, Vice President Pence, and President Trump himself, and vote by mail.
Which is, not very funny. It's like, why? Because there was no setup to the joke. There was no way to really understand. I understood what she was doing.
How did she even get there?
Well, the problem with what she said is that apparently poonts in Australia is slang. Like we would say faggot. It's on that level.
Really?
Yeah, apparently. Whoops.
Wow.
Fact check. Someone should have fact checked it.
Huh.
And then I, as part of this, kind of in the backdrop, we had this Steve Bannon arrest.
Yeah, I've been looking into it on and off, and I can't get any good clips. I mean, I got clips. The website's open. You can listen to the guy who did this stupid wall project, and Bannon, I don't even know what his connection to it is, and I don't even know what the fraud is. I haven't seen the indictment. It just seems sketchy.
Well, I have. It's not sketchy. If this indictment holds up in court, which I think it will, this is one of these problems I have with nonprofits. And I see it all. This is Black Lives Matter does a version of this, where they're nonprofit, but they're really connected to another nonprofit. The money is transferred. Transparency gets lost. You don't know what's happening. Half of the money is going to Act Blue, the Democrat Party. But all these little nonprofits and how they interconnect and are shoving money around, I find despicable. And Bannon did exactly the same thing. And I can explain it in pretty simple terms. So Brian Colfage, this was the guy. I think he lost 3 of his limbs in Iraq or Afghanistan. He started this. We're going to build the wall, and he had raised $17 million, and it was getting a little bit out of control. And people, it was just a GoFundMe, I think, and he had nothing set up. So in swoops Stephen Bannon with Bundolato and Timothy Shea. I don't know who they are. And they say, okay, we're going to set it all up. And they set up a nonprofit for We Build the Wall. And they raised another $3 million, so $20 million. Then something changed. And this is all in the indictment. It's about 9 pages. It's very interesting. Then something changed with where they wanted to build the wall. And they couldn't just give the money to the government. If you recall, there were a couple stories about that. So they said, well, we're going to build it privately. But because of the way the nonprofit was set up, they had to start a new nonprofit, and everyone who had committed money of the $20 million had to opt in to have that money transferred to the new nonprofit with a different structure and with a different mission. And they got almost everybody to opt in, and there was an additional $5 million they raised. But everything was continuously under the promise that Colfage, that's the vet, would not take, quote, a penny in salary or compensation, that 100% of the funds raised will be used for the execution of our mission and purpose. And they continued to, and they continued to say that no one will be paid, specifically not the guy who started it. So they get that money over. And a lot of the people who had already donated, I think this is where this lawsuit comes from, they were still very concerned that, are you sure? You're very sure that that's not going to happen? So then text messages are somehow intercepted, and this is what really set it off. And it turns out that they had made an agreement with Colfage, and he was promised $100,000 up front and $20,000 a month. And that would be, and they couldn't give it from the new nonprofit they set up. So what do? They set up another nonprofit, which then invoiced the consultancy, which wrote a 1099 to Coalphage to funnel the money from the nonprofit through Bannon's nonprofit to the consultancy to a payment of into a 1099 payment. So they lied, and they were cavalier, and I despise these kinds of things. And Bannon, who is now on his own podcast saying, "Oh man, you're just trying to make an example of you." F you, Bannon. You're a slimy creep. That's really low, and he thinks he knows. This is narcissist, this guy. I really soured on him after reading this. What a horrible thing to do.
Well, that summarizes it. Sorry I asked.
Are you really?
Yeah, Bannon's always been, seems like a douchebag. I mean, what is the way he dresses and this swarmy look and the greasy hair? I mean, the whole thing is just like
that doesn't bother me. Some of the most successful people I know, I don't care about that. But this is a slimy move. Slimy. And then just to lie about it and said, "Hey, man, we had to hook the guy up. We didn't do it right. We should have thought about it." I mean, we just no.
Let's see what happens. Man. Send me a copy of that. Or it's in the show notes.
Of course it's in the show notes.
Well, is it marked up?
It's only 8 pages.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda. In the morning.
And we do have a few people to thank for show 1271. This is show 1271, if you can't keep track. Starting with Peter DeJong and Spuzum.
I love Spuzum.
Something's Spuzum. He's okay. Yeah. He actually wrote. He sent in some. He says the shows are great of late. Okay. Victoria Shellhammer in Mertztown, Pennsylvania, 100. Eric Shimpak in Portage, Wisconsin.
I'm sorry. That's
that's right. On. Peter DeJong. He donated $234.56 in Canadian, which moves him up to associate executive producer.
Okay, and Victoria Shellhammer, let's us forget, this is Dame Vicky. She goes way back, way back.
She never misses the show.
No, I met her at the Chick Shinny meetup. That's how long ago it's been. Yeah. How you doing? How you doing, Dame Vicky?
So long ago, they changed the name of the town.
Yes, they did.
Eric Shimpak is next on the list for the $100 from Portage, Wisconsin. He needs a de-douching.
We got it for him.
You've been de-douched.
Ian Field in Eastleigh, Hampshire, UK, $100. Ronald Schull, the aforementioned, $84. Sean Thorpe in San Luis Obispo, $82.33. Good old Baron Mark Tanner down in Whittier, California, 7654, twice a month. Scott Grice in Starkville, Mississippi, who's got a birthday for somebody. And if you could find in your heart, she'd love a shout. Shut Up Slave for his, who's this for?
Shut up, slave.
For Ruby.
There you go, Ruby.
Sir Patrick Coble, the Duke of the South.
Hey.
7373.
Yeah, it's his birthday, too, I think.
I'd like to wish his eldest James a happy birthday for joining the
there you go.
The 2-digit club, turning 10.
How fast they grow. I think I remember when he was born, actually.
I believe we do remember that. Yeah. Sir Lineman of the it's pathetic, but true. Sir Lineman of the Net in Anna, Illinois, 6969. Sir Dwight. Let me move this thing. Sir Dwight the Knight in Burlington, Ontario, 76789. Troy Watson in Western Shore, Nova Scotia. Mohammed Choui, Choui in Washington, D.C., 5555. Stas Gomberg, the aforementioned, 5510. Chris Smothers, 5510. Sir Kevin of the Black Knot, 5510 in Amherst. Kevin Carlisle in Birmingham, Alabama, 5115. Nancy Nichols in Waco, Texas. We got a birthday for somebody, $51. For her, it's for her. She's going to be 51 on the 24th. Forrest Martin, 5005. The following people are $50 donors, name and location, starting with Alexa Delgado in Aptos. Kevin Silverman in Severn, Maryland. Daniel LeBoy, Sur, if I'm not mistaken, Bath, Michigan. James Johnson in Seattle, Washington. Matthew Grice, parts unknown. Sir Patrick Maycom in New York City. And Megan Reichel in Boise, Idaho. Another birthday coming up for her husband Dave. He says, even here in Boise, it's gotten crazy. BLM, crazy billboards, and a mayor and a councilwoman who are trying to recall. Your podcast helps me to disseminate all the M5M crap that comes out every day. They're in the healthcare business.
Yeah, well, listen to this. My siblings and I are all in the healthcare to some extent. We talk regularly about the Rona and what is the next best thing in research, treatment, and updates on the vaccines. We're just weird that way. All of the info you are talking about jives exactly with what we are hearing. Thank you.
And the reason for that is because the info you're hearing from us comes from people like you.
It's circular that way. It's like...
Well, at least it's a good source.
Yeah.
John Lawrence, $50. And last but not least, Baron Sir Alan Bean up in Tigard, Oregon, $50. I want to thank these folks for making the show 1271 a possibility and a reality.
And in addition to that, quickly back to Nancy Nichols. She gave $51 for her 51st birthday, which is tomorrow. She said, thank you for making this past trip around the sun more informative and thoughtful. For my birthday, I'm running my 40th marathon in Spearfish, South Dakota, where I haven't worn a mask since I arrived. My bib number is 66, which I hope is good luck, since it's 2 times 33. So we want to make sure that we make note of her run. And there was something else I had highlighted here. I thought, oh yes, Sir Dwight the Knight says he would like some jobs karma for his mom, the classic kind. She has an interview this Thursday. Thank you for your courage and the passion. So we'll do that for everybody who needs some.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
And thank everybody for supporting the show. We cannot produce it without you. That goes for people who came in under $50 who do it for anonymous reasons or on one of our many programs. You can go to Dvorak.org/NA to find out how you can get on something to make yourself more regular in supporting the show. But also thank you to everybody who sends in clips, ideas, links. Time codes are so loved. We could not produce this program without you. Wait until you hear the end of show mixes too. You know what I mean. For the Thursday show, please support us by going to
Dvorak.org/NA.
23rd of August, 2020. Here's your birthday list. Sir Andy of Terrigal Beach says happy birthday to his son Eddie, who turns 11 today. Chris Spalding, happy birthday to his hotter than a wildfire wife Amy. It's her birthday today. Also celebrating today is Lady Sammy Weeks. Josh Magnuson says happy birthday to her, the smoking hot Lady Sammy Weeks. Nancy Nichols will be 51 tomorrow and running her 40th marathon. Dame Zelda of the Turtle Realm will be 70 on Tuesday. Megan Reichel says happy birthday to her husband Dave, also celebrating on the 25th. Scott Grice, happy birthday to his daughter Ruby. She turns 9 on September 1st. And as we noted earlier, Sir Patrick Coble, our Duke of the South, says happy birthday to his eldest son James. I think Patrick's an Earl, actually. His eldest son James turning 10. And we say happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe. Woo! That came in hot and heavy. One nighting today. It is the make good for Vasilios, so we do need hop blades.
Here you go, the regular issue.
Very nice. Is that the only one we have? I guess so, right? Let me double check. Because I thought there was another one for Mint 2, who had Brevs and some Red Vein Borneo. We had already knighted him. We just needed to have that?
Yes, you just need it at the table so he can have that today.
Ah, perfect. Well, that works out well because the table is nice and full, and we would I'd like to ask Vasilios Plangetis to come on up here on the podium. You, sir, thanks to your contribution to the No Agenda show and the amount of $1,000. I know it took you several years, but very, very pleased to have you here. I'm going to pronounce the KU, Sir Vasilios, Knight of the Soft and Whiny Anapolitans of the No Agenda Roundtable. Here you go. I just did that, didn't we? Okay. You are that now, sir. For you, we've got hookers and blow, red boys, and Chardonnay. We have 2 extra special things, Brebs and some red-veined Borneo and mint tulips and manga, along with some ginger ale and gerbils, bongets and bourbon, and, of course, the mutton and mead. If you'd like to head over to noagendanation.com/rings, we'll make sure that Eric the Shill gets all the information and sends off the ring and the sealing wax to you post-haste. And thank you again for supporting No Agenda, the best podcast in the universe.
No Agenda Meetups.
So if you're looking to get out and you've been locked down for pretty much half of the year, and you're worried, and people are worried, and everyone's flipping out about masks and what you can say and what you can't say, try the No Agenda Meetups. This is where people can get together, hang out. We don't care if you're wearing a mask, not wearing a mask, if you have one leg, a hump, what color, creed, religion you are. Be clumsy, come on down, hang out, chat. Everybody loves it. We've got some reports from recent meetups. This is Long Beach, California.
Okay, everybody, this is the No Agenda Show, and this is Leo Bravo, and I have some words from a few of our guests from today's meetup.
Hey, Dr. Disorder here, ITM Jen. Thank you for doing the great work.
ITM Brandon from Pasadena.
This is the Widow Garrett here at the meetup, and Confucius say, it's like a party.
This is Aaron. I'm all prepped for the twindemic. In the morning, anonymous douchebag saying, thank you for your courage.
Well, thank you all very much. It was a great report. Really appreciate it.
And now we go to Kirkland, Washington.
Hey, this is No Title Bryce. We had a great time on the east side tonight, down by the water at the Kirkland Marina.
Hey, in the morning from Black Knight MF Assembler, and go Karma for everybody.
Avi, a two-headed rat baby was born in Queens yesterday, and we don't know if it's alive or dead.
I'm Cal, and I am still a douchebag, and I brought my friend who has no idea about the show.
In the morning, this is Derek from Bellevue, Washington. Big shout out to Silas in Nairobi, Kenya. I love you, bro. Hope to get your ass trafficked back to America pretty soon.
In the morning, this is James. I'm locked, cocked, and ready to go in and get my hair done.
Hi, everyone. This is Joe Biden. Where am I?
And then final for our reports today, Denver City, the Park Sit-In.
Hello, No Agenda Nation. This is the Denver City Park Sit-In Meetup coming to you again. We have a small group this time, but it's been a great group. I'm going to pass the mic around again.
Hey, it's Paul from Greeley in the morning.
This is Jim from Denver in the morning.
This is Mountain Jay in the morning.
Sir Scott, Baron of the Bikes. I'm sucking in soot.
This is Taylor, aka Tacos.
And I'm Dow Jen on No Agenda Social of the Scrambled Letters. We have been doing the work, and we're the Maskless Bandits, and we want to give everyone a hearty, healthy in the morning.
Lots of good groups. They look great on the pictures. Go to noagendameetups.com to see those reports. Also coming up today, actually, they're probably there, and they may be listening and celebrating, the Michigan Local 1. I think that started maybe an hour or two ago, so that is Douchebag Pat. Coming up on Saturday, the West New York Local 8008 at, you'll be meeting in the park. Berlin, Germany, also this coming Saturday, 2 o'clock Central European Time at the, well, go check out the website for details. It will be amidst an anti-corona protests in Berlin, so yay. Saturday the 29th, Midland, Texas, 2 o'clock, Chili's in Midland. Saturday, the Northeast Ohio area meetup, 6 o'clock at the Hooley House in Copley, Ohio. And let's see, we have coming up in the rest of August, Anaheim Hills on the 30th, West Seattle, Burien School from Home Redux on the 30th, and a ton of them coming up in September. Please consider joining one of these meetups. Meet your fellow No Agenda Nation members, tribe members. You know what? If there's not one near you, why don't you start one? It's really worth it. NoAgendaMeetups.com. It's like a party.
Sometimes you want to go hang out with all the nights and days. You want to be where you won't be triggered or held to blame. You want to be where everybody the same. It's like a party.
Well, there's some international stuff I want to get out of the way. But first, there's something that we kind of missed.
Uh-oh. That's always possible.
Every year this happens, and we miss it every year. And
oh, no.
Well, actually,
Oh, no. Is it Earth Day? Did we miss Earth Day?
Close.
Okay. What did we miss?
This one, I have to admit that I've never heard of this before, but apparently it's been going on for a while. And it's Earth Overshoot Day.
Fish, minerals, oil, grains, wood. The Earth's resources are finite. As of August the 22nd, humans have used up all of the natural resources that the Earth can produce in 1 year. But there is one small silver lining. Earth Overshoot Day is 3 weeks later than its date in 2019. That's due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But we still have a long way to go. Since the 1970s, we have been consuming more and more resources. In 1970, Earth Overshoot Day was on the 29th of December. Now it's in August. That's the global average, because for the world's richest countries, it's much earlier. This means that we need 1.6 planets to sustain our way of life. But if everyone lived like in Qatar, we would need 8.9 Earths. In Luxembourg, 7.9, the US, 5, and in France, 2.7 planets.
Well, don't worry, lady. When we get hungry here in America, we're going to eat the Brits. So we're not worrying about how much planet.
So on August 22nd, we ran out of everything.
We're done. We're toast.
Now, I don't understand how we could run out of everything, but yet all the cars are still going up and down the freeway, and I got going to go to the store later. And
who is behind this? Did you look it up? Who?
I tried. I didn't know. I just thought it was so ludicrous that I wasn't going to. It was like another one of these, just population controls. The thing that gets me, though, is how does Qatar require 8 Earths to survive? What are they doing?
Well, they're doing something really wrong, apparently.
I'll look into it.
Doesn't Qatar do natural gas? Isn't that their only thing? Or maybe I'm wrong about that.
Well, all I know is that they're using up so many resources, it just takes 8 planets to keep them going.
I want to find out, who is this about us? Come on, who is this?
Meanwhile, while you're looking that up, let's do some international news and get it out of the way.
All right.
Let's start with the Belarus update.
Yes, and then I have some thoughts on that.
Now, as mass protests continue in Belarus over the disputed re-election of Alexander Lukashenko, the country's beleaguered president now has a new target, NATO. Lukashenko claiming the alliance is deploying its troops near the borders of Belarus. NATO has called the claim baseless, but the longtime leader of Belarus has nevertheless ordered the army to defend the country's borders. James Vicina tells us more.
2 weeks of mass protesting, with hundreds of thousands of people taking to the streets and many injured and detained. After claiming 80% of the votes, President Lukashenko's calling on the army to take the toughest measures to protect the country's territorial integrity. He's accusing Western states of backing the demonstrators and the opposition. Opposition candidate Svetlana Tikhanovskaya is currently in exile in Lithuania, and the country's defense minister has denied claims that NATO forces are moving towards Belarus. While she doesn't plan on running for president again, she's calling on protesters to up the ante and extend strikes across the country.
I understand that I'm in safety here, but all the people who voted for me, who stayed in Belarus and who are going on demonstrations now and who are striking now, they need me as a symbol.
I have looked into this. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. So what is happening? Do you know, have you followed any of this, the Belarus, except for what we're being shown, what's being shoved down our throat?
I'm just deconstructing these stories as best I can.
Okay. And
it's not being carried by the M5M. There's really not a lot of news. I mean, I suppose if you went to the European newspapers, you'd find out a lot more.
Yeah, which I did, because I was interested, because it's just what is going on. So when after the Soviet Union broke apart, Belarus became an independent country. Lukashenko has been the president of the country since that happened in '96. After 2 terms, they decided to change. It's very typical. Decide to change the constitution so he could be elected more times. And apparently, they make tractors. That's what Belarus doesn't really have a lot. And of course, they shuttle Russian oil.
And as far as I know, they've changed the constitution twice to accommodate.
That's possible. And so they make tractors, but they do have, they're a pass-through country, just like Ukraine, for Russian gas and oil. In fact, this is exactly the Ukrainian situation. Because this guy has said from the get-go, by the way, if you look at Belarus, Sweden, and South Dakota, what do they have in common? They didn't lock down. They didn't muzzle their citizens. And, they've had, I think, 600 deaths in the country. It's not a big country, but it's not been horrible. Everybody's just continued. The work has gone on. But every single time the World Health Organization said, hey, everyone's got to do this, this, and this, Belarus went, no, we're not going to do that. Now, they had fallen on some harder times, so they were waiting for a 900 million euro package from the International Monetary Fund, who said, okay, we're going to give it to you, but you got to have people social distancing, you have to implement quarantines, you have to wear masks. And Lukashenko said, no, I'm not going to do that. Screw you. I don't need your money. I'm not interested. This is a problem because the European Union specifically, you notice how Merkel and Macron jumped to attention about this so-called poisoning of Putin's adversary. They go, oh, we have to investigation. They are so worried that Belarus will rejoin Russia in a deeper way than they already did a few years ago with the Economic Union of Russia, which they are a part of. They want them to be in the EU. So just like in Ukraine, what do? We send in some opposition party, the woman you heard, who filed late. That's how late she was in getting into the game. Now she's a symbol. No. This is a color revolution. I'm not quite sure who's doing it yet, but we get some clues from the National Endowment for Democracy. This is a nonprofit funded mainly by the USAID, another fine government's funding source. In 2019, let's just look at some of the money that was available for non-governmental organizations in Belarus. We have broadening understanding of security issues, freedom of information, the 17 grand for that. Developing civil society in the Gomel region, NGO strengthening, 28.5 grand. Expanding freedom of information, $40,000 for any non-governmental organization who would like to take care of that in Belarus. Fostering freedom of media, $43,000. Another $10,000 for fostering freedom of the media. Fostering independent public discourse and democratic values, 40 grand. You get the idea. The list goes on and on. But then the kicker is that this protest is being kind of coordinated and arranged on a Telegram channel. So the app Telegram, which is supposed to be secure and encrypted. And the channel is Nexta, Nexta. And this has been set up by some young lad, a lad who's about 25 years old, who set this up initially from Germany, and now he has 2 million people on this channel. But, he also has pictures of himself at the State Department, other government buildings where he was hanging out. It's on his Facebook page. His co-founder has actually been trained by U.S. Military, but they're managing the revolutionary channel. All we're missing is the Maidan. All we're missing is some snipers killing people.
Yeah, or noodlemen.
Yes, exactly.
Well, let's straighten it. Everything's great there, except I want to mention that the woman that ran not because she was a politician. I guess she signed up late because it was her husband that was the chief adversary to this guy who was trying to run. Correct. They arrested him and threw him in jail. So she ran as a kind of a proxy. So I'm not right. As a symbol. I don't know about that part of it.
So the only question is, who's really behind this? Because these are typical, because who was in Ukraine when they pulled this crap? Brennan, McCain, Lindy Hop, Lady G, Victoria Newland, all of this gang was there. They're not there now, which is why I don't think it's being reported on. So I have to think that this is probably in coordination with USAID and NED. It may be a Soros op. He's always kind of been active in that region. But Lukashenko won 80% of the vote. And they've been able to rile up, it looks like a lot of people. I don't know if it's hundreds of thousands, because you don't know. But this is a takedown, and they're going to try and get rid of him. So let's see if they take it to the next step. If it's us doing it, which I think would be possible, then he'll get taken out. I mean, it's going to happen.
Well, he should be taken out, but this 80% of the vote thing, you're not believing that, are you?
I have no idea. They've been very happy with him since 1996. So, yeah.
They have not been a group of complainers. This is a fact.
Yeah. Everyone's been pretty happy. They make their tractors. Everything's pretty good. They didn't have to wear masks. Everyone's groovy. This guy's an anti-globalist, and he's got to go, especially because Putin is now looking towards Belarus. What happened with Ukraine? Crimea. So something's up, and Merkel and Macron are freaked out.
Well, something's going on. At least we're covering it. We'll keep trying to follow it. France 24 has reports. So does Democracy Now!, but they're kind of...
I'm sure they're incomplete at best.
The next one is the Mali update.
Ooh. Mali is in the drug Mali?
Mali is a big African country right
Mali,
on the west. And they had a coup, which seemed to be a popular coup, and now everybody's all freaked out about it.
A delegation from a bloc of 15 West African nations has arrived in Mali following a military coup there. Officials from the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, meeting with the junta that overthrew the country's president earlier this week and demanding a return to civilian rule. Some ECOWAS members were also able to meet with President Keita in a bid to reverse his overthrow. The latest with Monty Francis.
Touching down in Bamako, members of the Economic Community of West African States are in Mali on a mission. The delegation, which includes presidents from Niger, Senegal, and Ghana, and led by the former president of Nigeria, wants to block a regime change in Mali following a military coup last week. But there's no warm welcome from the military junta responsible for the mutiny. They took President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita into custody at gunpoint, but insist that he resigned willingly. Its leaders are standing their ground, rejecting what they call foreign interference. In Bamako, the public has overwhelmingly supported the ouster of the president, but Saturday's protest did include another group of pro-Keita demonstrators. The military junta says it's moving forward with plans to organize elections and name a transitional president, but has refused to say when that might happen.
This is odd because we had military there. Mali, the Dutch were in Mali, lots of NATO forces, and now... was this the way it was supposed to happen? Or it sounds like it. Yeah, we have no information. Why would we?
We have not enough reports. We also have. There's another guy who changed his constitution so he can stay in office.
Right.
Right. Third times. In
Belarus, though, I think they did that by referendum. So it's not. It wasn't just like a purely political move. They were happy with him. That's all I know.
And then last on this list is the Ivory Coast. Looks like a new hotspot.
Uh-oh. They finally found one with black people?
It's amazing.
You know what's going to happen.
Sporadic violence flaring up in Ivory Coast this Saturday after President Alassane Ouattara was officially nominated by his ruling party to run for a third term in October's election. The opposition has denounced the move as unconstitutional. Ouattara, in power since 2010, had previously said he would not stand again, but his ruling party chose him as its candidate after its initial nominee, Prime Minister Amadou Coulibaly, died of a heart attack in July.
It's interesting, you know, that we have these reports which are just almost not covered except by some international, really satellite media. There was on CNN, Amonpour and Co., which she doesn't do the interviews, I guess. They had on, maybe you know her, She's a columnist for the Daily Beast, Margaret Carlson. Do you know her?
No, I do not.
Seems like she's been around. And she is just lamenting the state of journalism. And when I listen to her, and then we can kind of compare it to what journalism actually is in our country.
Margaret, do you worry that candidates can now just bypass the news media and that what happens on TV and in newspapers doesn't really matter much?
Do I ever worry about that, and does it ever hurt me? Because think about the convention we're about to see. It could be the Twitter convention, in which the first impression people get is from their Twitter feeds, skipping us all together because we'll be coming out in the middle of the night. We were there in the golden age of journalism. So much has happened and so much is lost. And I don't think it's just because I'm in it that I say that. I think someday people will come back to the notion that we weren't fake news, and that buying a newspaper as a citizen was a good thing to do, and that it mattered. How you used to learn about what was happening in your government really mattered.
Boo-hoo. Maybe.
Well, what's the golden age of journalism in her view?
When people
How old is she?
She looks in the 60s, mid 60s.
I'll tell you.
When people still went
73.
Oh, really? When she went.
So the golden age of journalism was probably, in my opinion, in the 50s. And
why? Why was it the golden age?
Well, I think it was the golden age because I've did research in the old newspaper archives at the University of California where they have these old newspapers. Mm-hmm. And if you go into the 50s and start looking at the papers where there was lots of competition, there was like 8 or 9 newspapers in New York, 2 or 3 in Chicago, 3 or 4 in San Francisco. There's the Call Bulletin, the San Francisco Examiner, the Chronicle, and a couple others. And in the 50s, all these things were vibrant. They were all before TV news kind of started ruining the business. And if you look at any of the papers, they are chock full of information. It's astonishing how much you can be sitting with that newspaper for. It's better than the internet. It's just amazing.
Exactly.
And that to me was the golden age. Maybe the 30s or 40s may even be better. But once TV news came in, that's when it started to deteriorate.
Yeah, and then they resorted to tactics such as letting the CIA write for them, and native advertising and corrupt practices and bad journalism. You're so right. It's too commercial. People used to buy the paper. Yeah, people used to buy the paper because it was subsidized by the classified ads, and you're screwed, lady. What she means is, I wish we could get paid to do good journalism.
Oh, well,
that's the problem. One request, and maybe this will be our last thing. One request from.
I have one last clip.
Okay, well, the request, and then we'll do the last clip.
Yeah.
The request is from many of our foreign, overseas Gitmo Nation dwellers. Can you explain the difference between mail-in voting and absentee ballot voting? Because it is confusing, and I believe it is intentionally done so, because all people hear now is, well, he's against mail-in voting, but he mailed it and voted himself. It's always been done, but it hasn't. People don't understand anymore what's on the table, and I figured maybe you could help.
Couple of things. Absentee balloting is a limited number of ballots. It's not everyone in the state, and it's done through a process that it requires a lot of hoops. You got to jump through hoops to get the ballot.
To prove that it's you.
Sorry?
To prove that it's you. That's why there's hoops.
Yeah, to prove that it's you. I was just coincident. I'm glad you asked this question because Mimi was telling me, Washington State has 100% mail-in voting.
Right.
So it can be done. But Washington State has a system that she knows all about this because she does a lot of public service stuff. She's on the county commission, for example. In Washington State, it took years to perfect it. Years.
Exactly.
Not a week or two. Not a month. It took years to get it right. And they have a complete system where you sign the ballot when you go in. It goes through a computer. All the signatures are compared with the signatures that are on file. Who's going to set that up? It's a very complex system in Washington State that took years to develop. It's very accurate. She's had her ballot kicked back a couple of times because she wrote a sloppy signature, or I signed her name or something like that.
Fraud, yes. It detected
we do that
fraud.
all the time
It detected fraud, and it was right.
Husband and wife.
Oh.
And so it gets kicked back and it gets voided. A lot of stuff gets voided. It's an extremely complex system that took a long time to make work. For California, for example, just do 100% mail-in voting is idiotic. It's not going to, or any other state. You don't have the mechanisms. It's too much mechanisms. Absentee ballots is a limited number. You sign up. You have to sign to get the ballot. You have to do it way in advance so they know who you are. So they take you off the other rolls. It's a very complicated system. Just as unlimited mail-in ballot is like internet voting. The potential for fraud is outrageous. And people who keep denying the potential for fraud are frauds themselves.
And the concept is we just send everybody we have on a voter roll a ballot, and then people just fill them out, sign them, and send them back. No verification, to my knowledge, except for address verification.
There won't be any verification. The whole thing is just ridiculous.
But yet some states are doing it. If people can stand in line
for groceries, they can stand in line to vote.
Right. But California, have they now decided mail-in voting? Yes, they have, right?
Yeah.
So
California doesn't matter. There's going to be all Democrats win everything anyway.
Right, but you expect it to be a mess. What I see now is the Democrats have their final last strategy in place, the lawfare group. They've got lawyers in every state, and they'll be ready. The minute Joe loses, they will be filing lawsuits, and it's going to be, and this is what Trump is saying, and this is how some wishful Democrats know that Nancy Pelosi will be president once that happens, because they'll never get an answer, and then it defers to the House, and of course Nancy will be elected to do that. It's their final, last desperate strategy.
Well, it's pretty desperate. You can stand in line for groceries, which you do. You can stand in line to vote. It just doesn't make sense to me that you have to do mail-in voting when people can, and it's going to be in November. This thing should be way on the other side of course, you got to get a flu shot. Probably have to have a flu shot to vote.
Oh, there you go. Now that's the ticket. That's the ticket.
That'll be okay.
All right, last clip. Let's get out of here.
I got my last clip. This is the clip with Amy Goodman and the Democrats bitching and moaning and groaning about the pardon of the dead Susan B. Anthony for the fact that she got arrested some type in the 1800s, and it was just kind of a gimmick that Trump pulled off. And so it brings out the worst in the Democrats. They want him to take that pardon back.
Take it back.
And then like the old joke where the woman says, "Oh, the portions." She says, "Oh, this food at this place is so bad," and the other woman says, "It is bad, and the portions are so small." An old joke. This is the way this ends up too, because it's not only bad that Trump did this, but Susan B. Anthony was a racist.
President Trump Tuesday pardoned suffragist Susan B. Anthony in commemoration of the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. Anthony was arrested in 1872 for voting when women were banned from the process. In response, New York's Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul tweeted, quote, "As highest-ranking woman elected official in New York and on behalf of Susan B. Anthony's legacy, we demand Trump rescind his pardon. She was proud of her arrest to draw attention to the cause for women's rights and never paid her fine. Let her rest in peace, Donald Trump," unquote. The 19th Amendment was ratified 100 years ago in 1920, 14 years after Anthony's death. It was not implemented equally, however. Black women wouldn't enjoy full voting rights for decades until passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Susan B. Anthony herself has been accused of racism for focusing on white women's suffrage instead of voting rights for all women.
Now all women matter. Oh, please. Oh, brother. So sad. Well, I sure hope the mainstream media doesn't go down in flames, because otherwise we have no show. We need the bad reporting to do it right.
Yes, we do need the bad reporting. It helps. Otherwise, we're going to listen to podcasts.
Well, speaking of such, on the NoAgendaStream.com, Fun Fact Friday, Bowl After Bowl, Abs and Six-Pack, Rare Encounters, and our Big Dumb Mouth, and also the 2030 podcast have all joined the stream, all commercial-free at NoAgendaStream.com. And we've got Grumpy Old Ben's coming up next. Also, end-of-show mixes from Tom Starkweather, Rolando Gonzalez, Track Rat, and Jesse Coy Nelson, who's just untirable. Coming to you from Opportunity Zone 33 here in Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star States, FEMA Region number 6 in the governmental maps. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where supposedly we ran out of resources, but cars are still going down the freeway. How does that work? I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Thursday. Please join us and remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. Until then, adios, mofos. And such. What program are you using for this?
That was one of the...
And we have a podcaster down.
Podcaster down, everybody. It sounds like you. We don't know if it's going to be okay. Johnny, we okay. Stay safe. Stay safe.
These things happen.
And we have a podcaster down.
Podcaster down, everybody. It sounds like you. We don't know if it's going to be okay. Johnny, we okay. Stay safe. Stay safe. Podcaster down, everybody.
That was one of the... What? That was one of the... What?
Podcaster down, everybody. It sounds like you. We don't know if it's going to be okay. Johnny, we okay. Stay safe.
Things happen. It's not been a good day.
Come on, man.
Flood the zone, JCD.
I'm going to flood the zone.
Come on now.
Cupcake.
Flood the zone, JCD.
You can do it if you do it in a prudent way.
I'm going to flood the zone.
Come on now.
Cupcake.
Flood the zone, JCD.
You can do it if you do it in a prudent way.
I'm going to flood the zone.
Come on now.
Cupcake.
Flood the zone, JCD.
You can do it if you do it in a prudent way.
I'm going to flood the zone.
Come on now.
The evidence that you're talking about is the anecdotal evidence.
Come on now.
Anecdotal evidence. Anecdotal evidence. Anecdotal. Totally stealth. The evidence that you're talking about is anecdotal evidence. Anecdotal evidence. Anecdotal.
I'm going to flood the zone.
Thank you so much for having me. It's real. It's not a joke.
Flood the zone, JCD.
What do you think is better? This one, that one?
I'm going to flood the zone.
Talking about Russian planes, Chinese planes.
Flood the zone, JCD. Come on now.
Nobody believes you.
I'm going to flood the zone.
It's real. It's not a joke.
Flood the zone, JCD.
What do you think is better? This one, that one?
I'm going to flood the zone.
Talking about Russian planes, Chinese planes.
Flood the zone, JCD. Come on now.
Nobody believes you.
I'm going to flood the zone.
Are you ready?
Should have a good audience. People are going to find out what the hell's going on
here tonight.
So if the scientists say shut it down,
I would shut it down. I would listen to the scientists. Because Big Pharma is the most powerful group. We'll have a national mandate to wear masks. He can't do this. He's going to destroy your soul. The current president has cloaked American darkness for much too long. I approve the Keystone XL and the Dakota Access pipelines. The tragedy of where we are today is it didn't have to be this bad. That's true. Well, I have news for him. No miracle is coming. Which would have cost us so many billions of dollars. I see it different, America. Stealth. Totally stealth. You can't see it. I know that deep black hole that opens up in the middle of your chest and you feel like you're being sucked into it. I'm going to go home and my wife is going to say, what happened? You look like a lobster. Honest, unvarnished truth. They can handle it. How about his person with her mother, right? With her mother. This must be an American moment. Doesn't hurt you at all, fracking. They want to throw up windmills that are going to ruin your houses.
We're in it for workers who keep this country going, not just the privileged few at the top.
When I take a shower, I can have water hit my hair instead of drop.
I hear their voices. If you listen, you can hear them too.
I want to get that mosquito out of here. I don't like that.
You have to fix the virus.
How did you get in? That's my question.
Speaking of President Obama, a man I was honored to serve alongside.
Predator drones.
Close your eyes. Remember what you saw on television.
I won't say the third element of the bathroom because they always just...
I had a very specific question about vaccines amongst doctors, I think you said. And I said, well, hospital workers, they're not exempt from getting the vaccine. What are you doing? It sounds disgusting. I wanted to do, and we'll be revisiting this, no doubt, on Sunday. Just wanted to give a little update on the Middle East peace deal, or I should say, what happened in Beirut. And I'm putting together an actual theory. Remember, I'm a conspiracy theorist. What are you doing? It sounds disgusting. I watched the whole video again, and I listened to 2 episodes of this Tori, T-O-R-E. And she has a very, you try and look into her, there's no evidence that she had any NDAs with companies that have expired, and therefore she can... What are you doing? It sounds disgusting.
Oh, jeez, this is Mike.
What are you doing?
Don't ask. Just, please continue, sir.
Okay, I won't ask.
The best podcast in the universe.
Adios, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
You piece of
Turn down your goddamn radio!
Please remember, when calling the Nick the Rat Show, turn down your goddamn radio. This message has been brought to you by the No Agenda Stream and producers like you. You are listening to NoAgendaStream.com, the best source of music, talk, and infotainment in the universe. NoAgendaStream.com. Up next, Hookers and Blow.
I want to have Tim Pool's babies.
Hello and welcome to episode 88 of Grumpy Old Ben's for Friday, August 21st, 2020. I am Darren O'Neill coming to you live from a bunker deep in the heart of Middle America, just outside of Chirac, where the mayor loves protesters as long as they don't go, by her house.
And from America's left coast, where Bill Gates proves that autism can cause vaccines, I'm Ryan Bemrose.
And a very special guest today from the East Coast. So I guess we have nationwide coverage today because he's back again. Last time was Progo. Yeah, it was like about a year ago. Progo, Brendan Kidwell.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so here I am in New York City with I've got crows and sirens in the background.
Immediately,
and I've got my finger over the mute button.
Oh my God! Immediately, we have sirens in the background.
Can you go out and thank those emergency responders for their amazing timing?
And are you okay? Is this a war zone? What is New York City like right now?
It's pretty quiet. I moved to Jersey City in June, so I say that like it still feels like New York City because it's like because 3 rapid transit stops away from New York City.
Yeah, because you're still in the same place. It's like when it's easy to tell people that I grew up in Portland because I basically did, even though I was on the Washington side of the river, so technically not Portland, but it's still the same city.
So I'm not a subject of de Blasio, but I'm in New York City.
So you are a subject of Cuomo.
Yep. Well, no, not Cuomo, the other guy.
Oh, that's true.
I have a governor.
Yeah, that's true. So you're totally out of New York, I guess, which is good, although Jersey was not doing much better when it came to their COVID response. And
and crazy Tim Pool has been complaining about our governor, saying that our government is a bloody mess. I don't pay much attention to it. I've only been here a couple of months.
doesn't Tim Pool complain about?
Hey, we need to get him on Grumpy Old Bens. He's got his
guy
own
goes.
show,
I want to know why he always wears the hat.
He wears the hat. He has a story about that. He was talking to a friend who's. Am I going to have to like close my windows and fucking bake in here?
No, I think this is adding to the authenticity of the report.
It's like you've got your own free ad hoc soundboard.
I'm like one block from a firehouse, and like fucking 6 times a day, they're just like I don't know what it is with my neighborhood. Everyone keeps hurting themselves.
Well, if it's only 6 times, tell them
buildings burning or anything.
If it's only 6 times, tell him to keep going, because that's 2 already on the show. And if we just get him out of the way early, we're good.
Yeah.
So Tim Pool has a story. He was hanging out with somebody like famous that like they knew each other professionally. I forget who it was, but he said, "Oh, you're the guy with the beanie. I know you." And then he explained Tim Pool explained who he was, and the guy said, "You got to keep wearing that beanie. That's your trademark. Everyone knows who you are because of that."
That's sad. I mean, come on, because
it works.
I mean, it feels like an
unfashionable red tie since 10 years ago.
An unfortunate fashion choice, at least in the summer. But I assume he's got air conditioning in his studio.
Well, yeah, he's making that sweet podcaster money. Except he actually has, an audience.
Yeah. I can make fun of Tim Pool all I want, but the one thing I can't make fun of is his audience.
About a year ago, he was making fun of CNN because he had a better audience than them.
That doesn't Grumpy Old Bens has better audience than CNN.
That's true. Most likely.
Maybe not larger, but definitely better.
Definitely better. And this COVID stuff is still nuts. I mean, there's no question about it. My mom had a little bit of an issue and ended up going into the hospital on Saturday night, going into Sunday. So about 4 a.m. or so on Sunday, she went in. And as of this morning, she's feeling better, which is good. She had to get some blood, but she has not yet seen a doctor because her COVID test just came back negative this morning. So she went in at 4 a.m. And it's been over 24 hours, hasn't seen a doctor because they have to clear you on a COVID test first, which I have to think. I mean, her case, it wasn't death or anything happening here, but
heaven help if you're in real trouble.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite concerning that, there's no doctor's going to see you until you're cleared of the COVID. And I mean,
that's why the best advice for 2020 is don't get sick.
Yeah.
Because all hospitals have been completely repurposed for this one flu virus. And if you have anything else, go ahead and just die.
Excuse me. It's a coronavirus, not a flu virus.
Some of the flu viruses have been. And besides, don't fuck up my rhetoric with your facts. We don't do that here.
Hey, I was just going to sit back like, oh, wait, finally somebody else that's disagreeing with Ryan. I'll just go by. See, okay, go ahead.
I'm out.
Should I call it the common cold? Does that help my hyperbole any?
That works.
It's the common cold on steroids.
It's common cold with a few extra features.
Like Windows. We just keep adding features nobody really wants.
Yeah, well, I do have, speaking of Windows, I do have a section in my notes called Bill Gates Hates Freedom.
He may. But see, I didn't want to argue with Ryan because I've had a week of arguing. There was something in the air. And I can tell you that, one, after doing, this is episode 88. So after doing, 87, you weren't here for a couple episodes, but after doing 80 something podcasts with Ryan, I'm now primed for any argument that's out there. And I've learned from Ryan with like the copyright thing. It doesn't even matter if you have any facts. You could just go after people. And as long as you stick with what you want to say, you go at it like a bulldog. And
I didn't make that up. That's how mainstream news media works.
Yeah. Oh, there's no question about it. So, I mean, it's become more in my DNA to have those debates with people that will engage. And there was a guy, and I think he listened to Grumpy Old Bens. He said he likes the stuff we do. His name was Wiley Saw or something on, I don't know how you pronounce it, over on Twitter. And he had a picture of somebody that dumped a bunch of stuff in the middle of a forest out where he was. And He went through it. There was like some garbage in there, and there was personal information of somebody on there, and he took a photo of it and posted it with the guy's name and information, saying that the guy was going to be getting a call from the police for dumping the stuff. And maybe the guy did dump the stuff, but I just asked a simple question, which was, how do you know who dumped the guy's stuff there? And he was 100% certain. You know?
Well, to that question, I mean, how do you even know that he didn't just fake the photo?
Right. Well, that is also possible.
I mean, be skeptical of everything you see online, especially if just some rando is posting it in Facebook that you don't know who they are.
Well, he's a no agenda guy. So, I mean, right there was a little bit of, believability.
Credibility increasing.
Yeah. And I believe that the stuff was in the middle of the forest, but I'm like, well, I don't get it. Is it easier to throw your stuff in the middle of a forest than actually throw it in the normal trash or take it to a dump or whatever you would need to do?
Around here, yes, because the forest is everywhere.
Well, you just throw it right out your back door and it's in the forest.
That's in a forest. Then, of course, the next time I walk back there, I'm like, oh, right, I put trash here.
And it's like he just didn't want to give in any way, shape, or form that it was possible that somebody else may have taken the guy's stuff and dumped it in the forest. And
because of the new normal, I had like 2 big boxes full of leftover electronic scrap that has to be recycled. And I had to carry that from the old apartment to the new apartment because nothing's open. And I might be able to go and recycle stuff now. And I don't know, but in June, it's like, no, don't even, just take it with you. That's the only thing you can do.
Or burn it.
No, if you're moving, then that solves my problem, is that you do just leave it there. Be like, well, this is now someone else's problem.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be a dick like that.
And it was weird because there was like a nice little rug. I mean, it didn't look like garbage, which was kind of a weird thing. And I said, well, how do you know, one, somebody didn't steal it and dump it there, or he didn't, maybe ask the neighbor kid to take the stuff to the dump or whatever you need to do in your area to get rid of stuff. And it was just a weird thing to me. And I just wanted to argue that point, like, hey, you posted the guy's personal information on the internet, and you no matter what, you can't be 100% certain that he was the guy that dumped the stuff there. And
I agree.
And I thought that was just a little bit weird, but that was the one argument. And then yesterday, comic strip blogger, our buddy over on No Agenda Social, we were talking about the No Agenda art. And then he came up with something like, Trump should be in jail, but he always calls him Melania's husband, should be in jail for what he's done to the EU.
I don't follow that guy because he can't say Trump.
It's weird.
Well, it's
one reason I don't
not just that. I mean, he calls Grumpy Old Ben's a podcast, which is funny because there are shows that deserve that moniker on the No Agenda stream, but this is not necessarily one of the. I mean, a free bit of advice for arguing with random people on the internet that I'll just throw out is if you use name calling, you are damaging your argument.
Yeah.
It's a pretty weak in fact, it's not a form of argument. It's just a form of, what's the term they use in M5M? Lashing out. It's pretty much, if name calling is what you've got, then you don't have an argument. And if you want to be taken seriously, you should probably cut that out.
Yeah. Well, that's me. With anybody, if you want to talk about anything.
Well, no, it's actually okay to call Darren names.
Yeah, that's fine.
But and I have to speak up about something that's been bothering me, that like, I'm not like a white knighter, social justice warrior, any of that shit, but people keep posting meme pictures and innuendo that Kamala Harris is like, she got where she is because of like being on her knees, giving everyone blowjobs. And I'm just like, what the fuck is that? Like, that's not an argument.
Exactly the same thing I said last week.
Yeah, that's exactly what Ryan said in the last show. And I explained to him Kamala's entry into politics, which was having an affair with Willie Brown. So she did get her start by sleeping with Willie Brown, and he was married at the time. And that
I still think argument from sexism is not a very strong political argument.
Well, I agree, but the memes are, I mean, if the memes are going to come out just because you see what the left has done with memes to Trump. So everything's fair game. This is where you have I start having an issue. It's like these idiots that will cry that is unfair behavior to Kamala have posted some of the most vile, disgusting things about Trump, and that's been okay. And they don't understand that they're a part of the problem.
You win by standing on the high ground and just attacking people based on their actual record.
That would be nice, but when's the last time that's happened?
What century are you from, Proko?
I think, yeah.
Probably the 19th.
You know, but that is the norm for the day. And that is where politics has gone, I think, really downhill since the internet, because it's odd, but people are paying slightly more attention to politics than just worried about, you know, your reality stars or your pop stars or whatever it is. But they're paying attention in a really bad way. They're only listening to talking points. They don't have an understanding. You know, it's kind of like the Green New Deal stuff or the climate change, where people are spewing things with no basis in reality, but they believe it like a religion, as Ryan points out all the time. And that's what this has turned into. And nothing's ever going to get done until people have a better understanding of the actual issues. And I don't think people are ever going to have a better understanding of the issues. So I think we're doomed.
Well, I've made the point before that some of what you just described can be laid entirely at the foot of the modern version is social networks, but you said with the rise of the internet, it is connecting people to so many others that we are now saturated in our ability to connect with other people. And one thing that has not changed is the human brain's ability for the total number of people that you can connect with, which means that if you're in a village of 150 people and no outside contact, you connect with those people no matter who they are, and you get to see and know their various opinions and positions, and some of them are old and some of them are new, and they all have different life experiences. Well, maybe if they're all in the same village, maybe not, but at least the old ones have been around a while and seen a lot, and then the young ones have fresh new perspectives. But when you get to a social network, you connect and you're like, okay, well, I want a Facebook group with only the transsexual socialists, Black Lives Matter people.
Now that sounds like a party.
It might be, and it might even be a political party. I think it is. I think it's the one running against the Republicans right now. But the thing is, once you narrow yourself down to that, you can find and saturate your 150 people worth of mental space for people that you actually care about and consider human. Because like I pointed out before, human beings, the human brain can think of maybe 100 to 200 people as actual people that you can care about and understand and even feel about. And everyone else necessarily, this is hard coded by evolution, is the other. It's people that you cannot care about as humans. You cannot think about them as people. You don't have the brain capacity for it. Now, that's not usually a problem as long as we all stick to rules like, you abstractly realize that is a person and therefore you show some minimum level of respect. But when we abandon that, then you end up with all kinds of social problems. But the problem is that you've got those 150 slots in your brain. And when you fill them all with people in your Facebook group who are precisely the same demographic, precisely the same age group, precisely the same ideology as you, then you legitimately have the excuse of, well, I don't know a single person who disagrees with me, and you're never going to encounter an idea that isn't yours.
And what do you do when all of those people are fake?
Does that matter?
Well, have
you seen CNN?
Well, that is an interesting thing to look at. As we've talked about on a previous Grumpy Old Ben's, when I ran a community for a country artist way back when, 9-10 years ago, we had a bulletin board, as you did then. That was the social media of the day. And there was a member who had been around for a little while, then claimed they got cancer. Then somebody posted they had died. And it turned out it was all a hoax. The lady made the whole thing up and, was asking for, there were no GoFundMe pages or anything like that at the time, but gave an address and people were sending gifts and whatever to help out. And it turned out that whole thing was a scam. And this is the problem even when you go to Twitter, doesn't matter what social media, you don't know that what you're reading is an accurate representation of an actual person. And
there's a whole issue that people have been talking about with broadcasters and what do you call the class of people who broadcast on a video streaming platform and people tip them, whether they're doing sex things or just like eating on camera or whatever. What do you call that?
Subtle.
Yeah, well,
of course. Entertainers
or whatever. Entertainers.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But there are these people that like, sometimes their audience gets like really into it and they feel like they have a two-way relationship and they don't. And I was wondering, how does that like, if you know that you have a one-way relationship, like I watch Tim Pool, even though like I think he's sometimes a really bad presenter. I can't stop watching him. Not every day. If I watched all of his videos, I would probably be insane.
Have you seen a psychologist about this?
Does Tim Pool, who doesn't even know who I am, does he take up one of those 150 slots?
In your mind, yes. If you have dedicated enough mental resources to get to know somebody, and such that you can like it's a pretty easy mental test. When you think about somebody, can you consider their feelings? Do you have a pretty good idea of how they're going to react if you say something based on past history? If you've got that mental model of a particular person,
except that I also assume he's a TV clown. I don't think he would behave.
Well, and maybe that's it.
I was talking to him in person.
And obviously it's not, I mean, it's not like you've allocated an array with a set number of slots. It's just how much mental power do you have and can you dedicate it to it? No, not everybody is going to be fully fleshed out, but like, if you dedicate enough, for example, mental space to Donald Trump to know and care, what he's going to say at a press conference because because you've listened to him enough, he might be one of your slots, but you don't know. And that whole online presence where it's entirely one way, where you get to know Tim Pool really well and his thoughts and feelings and likes, and you've got, all of his kinks cataloged. I don't know what your level of dedication is, but I'm just going out on a limb here, but he doesn't care about you. I mean, you want online stalkers. That's how you get online stalkers.
Yeah. Well, there's problems. Some of the entertainers have online stalkers, and they also have people who are like, the entertainer is profiting from the person, but the audience member is just like in this weird alternate reality of their own, where the entertainer cares about them, but they only know their name on the screen. That's all they know.
Well, and the persona that appears on the screen is exactly the person that the viewer is investing in. I don't imagine that Tim Pool puts every aspect of his life out on the screen. He creates a persona that he puts forth on the screen, and that's the person that people are getting to know. And it's a very asymmetric relationship, because in one direction, the relationship is, I want to have Tim Pool's babies. And on the other one, it's like, yeah, I'm totally milking you for money.
Oh, wait, that's an ISO I need to pull. I mean, that's the cold opener right there. I don't think there's any question about it.
Yeah. And then here, I'll give you a clip that you can put right after it. For lunch.
That is more the Bemrose way. But I mean, that's always been around, this kind of a concept with celebrities long before the internet. I mean, Elvis, the Beatles, they had the big fan clubs with thousands of people that, signed up, and all the girls that would go to the concerts, and, going back to Sinatra, and I'm sure even before that, they had that kind of a concept, but the internet makes it a little bit weirder, because I'm sure you've all seen,
like, you can be on the other side of the world and you can tip Tim Pool during his live broadcast and he will respond to your message. And that's a connection.
Yes, that is. I was just going to say, we've all seen any celebrity on any of the social media that they'll post something, and the first people to respond are usually ones just doing things like, hey, say hi to me. I'm here. Acknowledge me. I'm your biggest fan. That kind of a thing, looking for any kind of a response. Every now and then you get somebody on one of the social medias like, oh, it's my birthday. The only thing I want's a retweet from whoever. It's a weird thing trying to get.
You spend too much time on Twitter.
No, I don't. I've seen that for years. You don't have to spend a lot of time to see it. You can see it. It's all over. it won't take a lot of time to figure it out, but it's that concept that people want to have that interaction with the celebrity, and it can get dangerous. There's no question about it. If you don't realize that it's a one-way street, and if you don't realize, the reality again of what's going on is that the people you're talking, how many people get scammed because somebody impersonates somebody else on the internet? I see it all the time. From the guy lives right down the street from me here, was the 1983 Rookie of the Year in the American League, Ron Kittle. And it seems like every month or two, he's telling people, I don't have this account, I don't have that account. There's people setting up accounts as very low level. I mean, it's not like they're just trying to impersonate Taylor Swift or Donald Trump in order to try to scam people out of their money.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. It's a bizarre world on the internet.
I didn't know that existed. People that, like, in another state, you'd never heard of them.
People you've never heard of? Is that what you didn't know existed?
For people that you've never heard of, I didn't know that there were other people stealing those identities to play con games with it. I guess I should have assumed it happened, but
people create fake social media accounts for celebrities all the time. I think that Darren said that there was a Bemrose account on Twitter now.
Briefly until it was banned almost immediately, and nobody reached out to tell me what happened, how they got banned. I know it had to be somebody that listens to the show, so they probably just want to remain anonymous. It was probably Fletcher or somebody that would do something nefarious like that. It seems like a hog story thing to do. It would have been a better bit, though.
Or somebody did a good cartoon in the last couple of weeks of or made a point of you're not a real conservative until you've been on Twitter and got banned.
It seems
that
to
was
be the case.
That was a Babylon Bee article.
Yeah.
They're usually spot on. There's more reality in the Babylon Bee than there is on
Babylon
CNN.
Bee has been killing it the last few weeks.
Yeah.
The last few years. About the time that Onion stepped down and decided to go full woke, Babylon Bee has just been nailing it.
They just lost their direction completely.
Earl Walkman mentions he was banned for calling Alyssa Milano the C word, I think it was. And right.
Yes. Well, facts and truth don't have any space on Twitter. We know that.
We stand behind Earl Finley, Jay Finley, Baron Walkman, now Earl Walkman. So many names. But this concept with the internet and people that, even the ones now that are on YouTube and all that, it is a very weird thing, because I think people, especially now with all the COVID lockdowns and stuff, aren't getting out as much, aren't seeing as many people. So this is what is replacing, what they're considering as friends. This is what's replacing, human interaction. And you're putting a lot of faith in these people that you don't know.
And it's not always true. And you have to accept that. There isn't any aspect of life where blind obedience and blind acceptance of what you're being presented is particularly a beneficial evolutionary trait. Skepticism is a good idea for a reason. Like your story that you've told this on Grumpy Old Ben's before, but your story about the person who had cancer, except that she was making it up for sympathy, attention. Yeah. And, stories like that and oatmeal raisin cookies are why I have trust issues.
What happened with oatmeal raisin cookies?
Well, the raisins look like chocolate chip.
Oh, so you feel like there was a bait and switch going on.
Yeah, there's definitely some violation of trust going. Anytime anybody bakes raisins into a cookie, there's a violation of trust.
But I'm sure it's weird to be a celebrity. I've just started listening to, I don't know if either of you have watched the series Scrubs, which I thought was a fantastic series. Aired about what?
I've seen probably most of it.
Yeah, about 20 years ago or so, maybe a little less, maybe, I'm not good with time, but the two main characters, JD and Turk, played by Zach Braff and Donald Faison, they're doing a podcast, which is called, Real Friends, Fake Doctors or something like that. And Donald Faison talked about that. He's like, I was in a Starbucks one day and a guy just comes up. He's like, "Hey, Donald, what's going on?" And he's like, looking at him like, "Do I know this guy?" But he's like, "Yeah, no, just a big fan." But they approach like they know you. And it's a weird thing. I'm sure if that happened to people every day, that's a little, it would get a little concerning.
That's what causes some celebrities to get really standoffish too. Because they're they're thrown into awkwardness all the time by things like that, and they just start like either they develop a positive defense mechanism and they just like they're bubbly with everyone, or they just glare at you.
Right.
If I may make a recommendation for the celebrities, the first thing you need to do if you want to reduce the awkwardness in your life is get the fuck out of California.
Well, there are celebrities elsewhere.
Yeah, but New
Yorkers tend to be laid back about celebrities. I've seen it and I've heard it. Like, you know, you see like David Letterman walking on the street or walk into a deli and like, oh, that's David Letterman. Cool. I'll just keep on shopping for whatever I was going for.
And how many times have you bumped into Donald Trump on the street and been like, sup?
I haven't seen him.
I don't think he walks on the streets. Only the ones paved in gold. But
he did threaten to walk down like Fifth Avenue and shoot someone.
Ooh. Well, see, that's why people like him.
No. Okay, to be clear, just to clear out some of the fake news, the actual quote was, I could walk down, shoot someone on Fifth Avenue. And actually, I don't remember the quote. But he wasn't saying that it wasn't a threat. He wasn't saying he was going to. That was definitely spun. He was saying that if he did, there were people who would vote for him anyway.
Yes, but see, I was being hyperbolic, and I thought the whole audience knew what we were talking about.
This is where
I try not to assume that about the internet anymore.
See, this is where the trust issues come in. Because people don't know. And it's hard to, I mean, even in strictly audio, I mean, even sometimes in person, it's hard to pick up on sarcasm or jokes, which is how we got into this new woke world where words are bad and we have to limit what people can say because, you know, then we don't want anybody to be offended. That's the bottom line now, which I don't know how you go into that concept knowing that.
I don't know, but I'm offended by that.
Yes, that's the problem. Anybody can be offended by anything. So your concept that you can keep people from being offended, never going to work. But this, you know, the internet relationship thing, I think it's different. Kevin Smith talked about this a little bit too. The podcast is interesting, maybe even more so than YouTube, because people are used to watching television and not really believing like, hey, that's my buddy on TV. The podcasts are a lot more intimate because a lot of times people are wearing, you know, the headphones and they're listening to your voice and there is a bond that is made. But
that's creepy.
It is. People are listening to us right now and you don't know what they're thinking, what they're doing. But
I know what they should be thinking. It's what I'm saying.
No, nobody should be thinking about that. It's a scary thing to get into the mind of Ryan Bemrose, but it's an interesting medium. And as long as you have a small enough audience as we do, I mean, we know a lot of the people that listen to our show. We interact with them. Now, once you're Joe Rogan.
And I think that's the best kind of radio.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I'd like 30 million listeners, but.
I think I just figured out why you say the things you do on this show. It's because you want to make sure that our audience stays small.
Right. This is the one way to do it. We want to limit the size so we can have a concentrated, you know, it's like making some of the best sauce, you know, in Italian. You got to just keep letting it simmer. You got to keep getting it stronger. The bad stuff evaporates off. The good stuff just keeps getting to a stronger flavor. And the end result is podcasting magic. That's what we've got here on Grumpy Old Ben's. And we thank everybody who has been listening.
So what you're saying is that Grumpy Old Ben's is a fermented podcast? Is that?
Well,
I'm not
fermented,
sure
but I mean, we could do that because that would be
we can put that on the about page I said I was going to make for you.
Yeah. I mean, that would be similar in, you know, fermenting would be similar in alcohol to what I was talking about in cooking is, you know, making those flavors stronger. Yeah. But,
so your comment about, people choosing to get offended and not is one thing that I've talked about before, but I can't ever say this enough, because so many people do not understand or just choose to forget. An interesting characteristic of spoken language is that the choice of what words to use is the agency of the speaker. The speaker gets to decide what words will be used in the communication. But, and this goes back to like mathematical code theory. It's something that I came from programming. The interpretation, what those words mean, the agency is entirely on the listener. If I say, hey, Darren, go fuck yourself, you can decide whether that means, hey, gentle ribbing, ha, 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 we're just making a joke, or if that means that I really hate you, or if that means that I think that you should perform autofellatio. And I can mean one of those things specifically, and I can choose my words to try to hint and push toward a particular meaning. But ultimately, the decision of what message is communicated is you are taking the words that you received and choosing what interpretation to put to them. And that is why it is so dangerous for for the concept of hate speech, because I can say a word, but I don't actually have control over whether or not it offends someone, because the interpretation, the meaning of those words is entirely the listener's agency.
Scott Adams made a good point about this about 3 or 4 years ago maybe it was during the Trump campaign #1. Scott Adams noticed that people were quoting him out of context all the time, and he started to enjoy it, thought it was kind of funny. But he started putting disclaimers on everything, saying that if you take my words or somebody else's words and summarize them, quote them, clip them, and then put them in a different context where nobody knows all the other things that I said before it, that's on you, the propagator. Like there's the speaker, there's the person who forwarded the message, and then there's the listener, and they all have a role in interpreting what the hell was said. And he was saying that if you forward my message as a clip, then I have no responsibility for it. That's on you.
Rightfully so, because taking things out of context, that's all the mainstream media has turned into with all of these shows that bring usually it's bringing two guests on. You get the split screen with the host in the middle and two guests on either side. And so many times you'll be like, well, Donald Trump said this today. And it's like, what did he mean by that? And they go off for like a half hour on what, a sentence might have meant.
And if you listen to the 5 minutes before he said that, you'll know exactly what he meant.
Yes. I mean, that would be too easy though.
No, that would actually be very hard for a lot of these people.
Yes.
It's and like, listen to Trump. No, I can only take what he said out of context. I can't listen to him because my mind might melt.
And they might.
I had a good friend who really crystallized this concept for me. He's a webcomic author named Howard Taylor, and that's not name dropping because nobody here knows who that is. But I was chatting with him one day, and he said something, and I quoted the line from Alice in Wonderland, said, when I speak something, it means precisely what I mean and nothing else, or whatever the line is. And he looked at me and just got really serious and said, that's completely wrong. What do you mean? He said, it doesn't mean what you mean. The definition of words is not what you mean it to. The definition of words is exactly what the person who hears them understands them to be. That's the problem with words is you are encoding thoughts into syllables, and then the person on the other end has to decode them. And I only brought up.
Can I just
Howard
say
Taylor
I refuse to decode emojis? Continue.
I do. Well, they have a meaning. The meaning is not necessarily what was in your mind. In fact, it probably isn't because they're incomprehensible. The meaning that I get when I read an emoji is this person chose to use an emoji, and therefore credibility has gone down, and I don't need to take them as seriously.
Pretty much.
But my real problem with emojis is the fact that every fucking thing, like they display an emoji as approximately 1 or 2 characters in height, and that is not enough pixels to figure out what the hell the emoji worked. And most places that emojis are displayed, you don't even get a tooltip. Like you can't hover over it to see what the fuck they said. So you're like, okay, so there's some incomprehensible glyph here. That this is why we use more than one letter to form words. Use your words. Anyway.
Well, it's not even just use your words. If you've followed any kind of text communication over the last 10 years, you've realized that the English language has been brutally murdered and has been left for dead somewhere, because I haven't seen it in a long time with the way.
But Darren, I could go back into the 19th century and find that exact same quote, what you just said.
Probably. But is it getting better or is it getting worse?
Well,
it's just getting different every decade.
It's getting different. I mean, you can say that, but do you believe, I mean, really, if we're going to look at the ability for people to communicate with one another?
Oh, yeah, I will bitch and moan about people being unclear. I'm one of those people, but I also know that the people who think like us have been bitching about this problem for hundreds of years.
You mean the smart people who know how to put a couple sentences together?
I didn't say
that's
I was
one
smart.
Interpretation.
We'll say it for you, Progo. You are smart.
Yeah, Progo is smart.
He doesn't know how to take a compliment. Come on.
I do want to attack a straw man for a moment, though, and that is the people who say, will communicate badly and then say, well, language is evolving and you just need to evolve with it. And this particular straw man does not understand the concept of evolution. Evolution is generational. Evolution does not happen by forcing people to change. The way evolution works is that new people are being created or new constantly, and a new person, and usually through some kind of error or mistake, creates and ends up encountering a new trait, or in the case of language, has a new idiom or something like that. The new ones are forming all the time. It's part of just complete random chaos theory. And new people ingrain different language forms. And then the old people who don't understand those language forms eventually die. And that is, in fact, how language evolves. But it does not happen in a matter of days, months, or years. It happens in generations. And so the people who go out and say, well, you're just not understanding what I'm saying because language is evolving and now racism just means white. No, that's not evolution of language. That is, you are redefining words in order to communicate badly. Here's the other thing. Every single time that there is a change in the language, which eventually will become the new language through evolution, until it has become the new language by the attrition of all of the older members and all the new members use it, what you have is an error in communication. And when you intentionally propagate errors in communication for the purpose of changing how you communicate, you are communicating badly. That's
Ryan.
You're
I have to
not
call
communicating
you
effectively.
You are gatekeeping, and you have not read the Gospel of the Singularity according to I can't remember their names. Vint Cerf is one of them, and they talk about how like we're going to all become cybernetic transhumans, and because of the internet, we can communicate so much faster. And evolution of everything, evolution of thought, evolution of technology is on a accelerating pace, going faster and faster. So that you're going to wake up one day and it's going to be like not even the same world as it was 3 days ago. And
so no, I haven't read this. I haven't read this novel. Are you gatekeeping me? You're gatekeeping me. You're telling me that not having read this novel means that I can't have my opinion. Is that how this works? Huh?
It's a bunch of essays, and I don't really care if any of us is gatekeeping.
I understand. No, I'm giving you shit.
Of course, but
the idea though of the singularity, in order to transcend verbal communication, we're going to have something that replaces it. And visual communication is another one that is natural and people know how to do. But the concept of the singularity seems to presuppose some kind of new technology which allows a higher data throughput than words between brain and computer. And I tell you what, when Google telepathy comes out, I am not going to be on their beta list.
Yes, you will. You've already got the implant.
I thought Musk was working on it. I didn't know Google was.
Maybe.
I have no idea.
But I mean, that was, one of the things we wanted to discuss, because Progo, you want to write a book about getting off all of these services. And we want to do some episodes on this. And I think it will take multiple episodes, and it's going to take, beyond some homework, it's going to take actually having some experience with the things before we really try to recommend other people try them. So this is maybe a multiple podcast kind of a thing where we come in on one show, and make a plan and then try the stuff and then come back and report back, because Google is the thing that is not driving what people are doing, but it is the gatekeeper, I guess, like you said, because people that are using this for email, using it for text.
They're the gatekeeper of your thoughts. You'll upload data to your private folder and then it won't be there tomorrow.
But Google will have it.
That's gaslighting. The problem, the concern that I raised a minute ago was that they would be uploading data directly to your thoughts.
Well, they're getting there. And Earl Walkman points out that the way to do this is probably to separate these things by phone, laptop, although we're still old. We still have desktops. But we're old.
Why would I want my computer to be available anywhere?
With a normal person, the only way that you can really have authority and ownership and what's the word?
Control?
Sovereignty over your computing environment is you have to have a laptop or a desktop computer. If you and I don't count Mac OS as that. If you got Mac OS or iOS or Android, you are not the sovereign owner of that computer.
Well, no, let me put it in a simpler way to describe. It's not your computer.
Yeah, you're just renting it. You paid a lot of money up front to rent it.
If you do not have the ability to fundamentally change the operating system or features or change it according to what you need from your system, if you don't have the ability to do that, it's not your computer.
Yes. CSP just said he would do cartoons for my upcoming book. I would totally as much as I don't like to follow him on NAS and I've got problems with him. He's cool, and I accept that offer when I eventually get around to writing the book.
And we like to see CSP
close to a backhanded compliment.
People get used to having this server-oriented computing, where I've got a server and I've got multiple client machines and client processes, and the server keeps everything synced for me.
Right.
What I want to do in the book is say you can build that server at home with free software.
Right. Well, that's it.
Basically, the concept.
Well, yeah, because it's the cloud, which is when that whole concept started being talked about. This is where it started. And it is, as Earl Walkman points out, this is all about custody of your data. It doesn't matter whether it's your email, whether it's your photos, whether it's your text messages, any other conversations, whatever it is having the custody of your data. And beyond email, which is a bear, the rest are pretty easy to do if you're willing to buy a little bit of hardware and do some setup. Emails, as we've talked about in the past, is the bear of doing any of this stuff. And the best you can kind of hope for with email is to find a service like Proton Mail that doesn't steal your data and that you can have reasonable trust in.
The important thing picking email is who is paying them and why are they paying them? If somebody else is paying for your email, then you're in trouble.
That is the important thing to note about any form of service ever is who is paying for them. That is the real customer, and that is the person who controls what it does.
Well, that makes sense. And I don't know if a lot of people realize the amount of data that Google takes out of your emails. And I have a bunch of accounts that get forwarded over to my
I sure
Gmail.
As fuck hope Google's not taking anything out of my emails.
I think they are.
I don't have a Gmail account.
How do you know? You could have one.
Yeah, you on Gmail.
Sir Bemrose at gmail.com. I bet you that exists too. See, somebody's already set this up.
Oh, it's like when I say I don't have a Facebook account. I've never had a Facebook account that I have any control over.
Yes. So, if you get an email from Sir Bemrose at gmail.com asking you to send donations for Grumpy Old Ben's directly to him, not really him. Just saying, we should put that out there so everybody's safe and secure. But the email is the rough part. So that is something that you can't just set up at home and have work, mainly because the way all of the residential ISPs are, for a variety of reasons.
It's mostly the residential ISPs treat you like that, mostly because of the never-ending spam war.
Yes.
That's basically it. And so to be a member of the federated email network and be able to send and receive messages, you need to be like an active full-time sysadmin. And if you aren't constantly chasing after people who have gray listed you and blacklisting other people yourself. If you're not actively doing that, if you don't have somebody in your organization that's doing that, you don't exist on the federated network.
Yeah, and you need to get your emails. So there's that. The one device we've talked about before, the Helm device, $600 plus about $100 a year. I don't think most people are going to do that for email, even though they're rolling in other things like file syncing and all that. I don't think the average person is going to pay $500-600 for the device and $100 a year just for email. I mean, you could do everybody in the house. So, I mean, I guess maybe if you have a big family, you might pay that, but that price to me still seems excessive. I don't know about you two.
Family.
I think I'm paying like $48 a year for fast mail. So $100 a year doesn't seem too steep, especially if you get other features you want to use.
Well, then maybe that's the answer.
Ultimately, the problem with email is that it is painfully outdated and has not been updated to address the emerging, changing technologies and new requirements that have gone on communications. I mean, email was developed in a world when it was generally assumed that if somebody sent you a message, then both that message had interesting content and it was a message that you wanted. And those are hopelessly naive assumptions now. But email, the problem with email is that everything that has come out and has proposed to replace it from a technological standpoint, there have been hundreds of attempts at replacing email, but nearly every one of them has not got off the ground, not because of technological reasons, but almost always because of business model reasons. Because one company is like, we have the ultimate technological solution that addresses every problem with communications and fixes it so that you can be Slack is one example of this. It is superior in every single way, except that then the company comes out and says,
email. Slack is a private system.
Well, let me finish.
In order to exchange messages with Slack, you have to be accepted into the group. That's not how email works.
You are completely undermining my point here. Slack, technologically speaking, Slack is superior to email. It addresses almost all of the problems that we've had. However, every time somebody comes up with some system like this, they say, this is better. This addresses this problem. It does this problem. And we're going to control it completely because that's our business model. Yep. And right there, that is where the entire idea falls off a cliff. Email has not been replaced by anything that is open and patent unencumbered that solves its problems.
My theory is that anything that is open and unencumbered by patents and completely federated, decentralized, anything like that tries to replace email just looks functionally exactly the same as email. Like it's like you can't use the new thing because it's just the old thing with different words in the protocol.
More or less. I mean, but there are things out there. I mean, when you look at even the Mastodon and Pleroma, which is noagendasocial.com, which is that version of Twitter, the direct messages there aren't much different than email. I mean, you could just change the formatting a little bit and it would act completely the same. But
I think the level of spam that exists on email happened on the federated social network.
And all the servers that fall over.
We just have to turn them off. We have no way to handle them.
That is probably true, which I guess is the issue.
I mean, what problem are you trying to solve? There's a number of, turning off anonymous direct messages and yet allowing messages from people you follow or people that follow you. It is a viable way to get a lot of communication done.
Okay, yeah.
Email doesn't really have a built-in system of following, for example.
Optional opt-in system. That's part of the problem. Yeah. And that's why I never like broadcasting text via email. Like, if I want to receive your text feed, like John C. Dvorak's newsletter, I'm going to go to the RSS feed, which most people don't know that it's there. But if you don't have an RSS feed for your newsletter, I'm not reading it.
We do. We do it.
Well, of course, because you're awesome.
Hey, when we use the same service that Dvorak is using for No Agenda, and they do it by default. Yes, Grumpy Old Ben's has a newsletter. You can sign up on our website. But this email is not
this idea that in email, like you can't pre-approve people who send things to you. the fact that there has that feature and that people want to use that to broadcast messages, just that doesn't go together for me.
Well,
I need to be able to cut it off at the source when I don't want to listen anymore.
It's not that different.
That's what blocking is for.
Well, it's not that different than phone calls, which is an intriguing thing. And Apple has this built in to their software on their devices. I guess Android does not. The ability to block, because my wife's been getting a lot of calls, assuming this is that time of the season with the political calls, and that all of a sudden been getting a lot of robocalls to her cell phone. And we're on the Samsung, the latest, at least one of the latest ones, the S10e that we've had for about a year or so. And there is no built-in way to do it. You have to go to a third-party app, which, as we've talked about here on Grumpy Old Ben's, that's not usually a recommended way I want to do things, which is to go and find a third-party app from another company that you don't know if you can trust. And this one that seemed to be the highest recommended, but not a huge company, was some guy named Vlad Lee.